Your life changes when you stop waiting for the right moment and start caring for yourself with purpose every single day. Most people want better results, more confidence, and stronger focus, but they do not always protect the habits that make those things possible. They feel tired, distracted, and stuck because their daily choices are not supporting the life they want. This audiobook is about that change. It is about learning how self-care is not selfish and not soft. It is a serious part of high performance. When you sleep better, think more clearly, protect your time, and treat your mind with care, you become stronger in real ways. You make better decisions. You stay calmer under pressure. You build the kind of discipline that lasts. In the chapters ahead, you will hear simple and practical ideas you can use right away. You will learn how to take responsibility for your life, stay focused, reduce stress, strengthen your habits, and keep growing even when progress feels slow. Each part is meant to help you build a life that feels more steady, more capable, and more aligned with your goals. If you have been waiting for a clear path forward, this is your moment to begin. Chapter 1: Take full responsibility for your life and daily choices. Your life becomes stronger the moment you stop asking for a different past and start building a better present. Most people waste years waiting for the right mood, the right support, the right timing, or the right person to change their situation. They tell themselves that life would improve if other people behaved better, if circumstances became easier, or if they finally felt ready. But real growth begins somewhere simpler and far more powerful. It begins when a person accepts a truth that is not always comfortable but is always freeing. You are responsible for your life. You are responsible for the choices you make each day. You are responsible for the direction your habits create. You are responsible for how you respond when pressure comes. You are responsible for the mind you feed and the standards you keep. That truth does not weaken you. It gives you power. Responsibility is not punishment. It is the doorway to dignity. When you take responsibility for your life, you stop living as a victim of every mood, every delay, and every disappointment. You stop handing your peace to the opinions of others. You stop pretending that your life is happening without your participation. Instead, you begin to see that your future is shaped in quiet moments by small decisions that nobody else can make for you. What you do when nobody is watching matters. What you repeat matters. What you excuse matters. What you ignore matters. Every day is shaped by choices that seem small at first but slowly become the structure of your life. This is where intentional self-care begins. Not with luxury, not with escape, not with pretending that everything is fine. Real self-care begins with honest ownership. It begins when you ask what kind of person you are becoming through your daily behavior. It begins when you stop saying you have no time and start asking where your time is going. It begins when you stop saying you cannot change and start looking at the habits that are keeping you stuck. It begins when you understand that caring for yourself is not selfish when done with wisdom. It is disciplined. It is necessary. It is the work that allows you to perform at a higher level without breaking yourself down. A responsible person does not wait for motivation to appear before taking action. A responsible person knows that motivation often follows movement. You get clarity by acting. You build confidence by keeping promises to yourself. You strengthen your mind by doing hard things in a calm way. You improve your life by refusing to surrender your power to temporary feelings. Feelings matter, but they do not get to rule everything. There will be mornings when you feel tired. There will be days when you feel discouraged. There will be moments when fear rises and tells you to delay again. Responsibility says that your feelings deserve respect but not authority. You can feel pressure and still move forward. You can feel uncertain and still make a wise choice. You can feel low and still do what is right. This mindset changes everything because it removes the habit of blame. Blame is one of the most expensive habits a person can have. It feels useful because it gives temporary relief. If the problem is always someone else, then you never have to face your own patterns. If the problem is always your job, your family, your environment, your past, or your bad luck, then you do not have to change today. You only have to complain. but blame steals your energy. It keeps your mind fixed on what is outside your control while ignoring what is inside your reach. Stoic wisdom teaches a simple and powerful idea. Focus on what you can govern. Release what you cannot. Your thoughts, your actions, your discipline, your words, your effort, your attitude. These belong to you. These are your tools. That does not mean your past was easy or that everything happening to you is fair. It does not mean pain was imaginary or that difficult circumstances should be ignored. Some people have carried heavy burdens. Some have been let down deeply. Some have had to fight through fear, instability, loss, or rejection. Responsibility is not the same as blame. You are not being asked to pretend that life has been gentle. You are being asked to become strong enough to work with the life you have rather than remain trapped in the life you wish you had. That is a major difference. One path keeps you staring at the wound. The other path helps you begin healing and building. If you want a better life, start by observing your choices without excuses. Watch how you begin the day. Watch how quickly you reach for distraction. Watch what you do when no one expects anything from you. Watch whether your words match your intentions. A person who wants growth but repeatedly ignores the basics is not lacking potential. They are lacking ownership. And ownership starts with truth. Truth says I am where my habits have brought me. Truth says I can change the direction if I choose to. Truth says small actions are never small when repeated every day. Truth says the future is built in the ordinary. There is great power in this kind of honesty because once you see clearly, you can act clearly. You no longer waste energy pretending. You no longer live in self-deception. You start asking better questions. What am I doing that weakens me? What am I avoiding that I need to face? What habits support my health? What habits drain my focus? What kind of future do my current choices produce? These questions are not meant to shame you. They are meant to awaken you. A life changes when the person living it becomes willing to look directly at reality. Not with hatred, not with panic, with courage. Courage is a quiet skill. It is not loud. It does not always announce itself. Sometimes courage is simply getting out of bed when you do not feel inspired. Sometimes courage is telling the truth instead of hiding behind excuses. Sometimes courage is admitting that your routine is broken and needs work. Sometimes courage is saying no to a habit that feels comforting but keeps you weak. Sometimes courage is asking for help. Sometimes courage is starting over without drama. A responsible life is built through many small acts of courage repeated until they become identity. You become more stable when you stop making your decisions based only on short-term comfort. Comfort is useful in the right place. Rest is necessary. Joy is important. Ease matters. But when comfort becomes the highest goal, it begins to shape a weak life. A responsible person learns to choose what supports long-term strength over what only feels good right now. That may mean going to bed earlier instead of scrolling until midnight. It may mean drinking water instead of relying on another burst of sugar and caffeine. It may mean finishing the task before seeking entertainment. It may mean having one hard conversation instead of carrying resentment for months. It may mean saving money instead of spending to fill an emotional gap. These choices are not dramatic. They are not glamorous. But they build a life that can stand. A simple way to begin taking responsibility is to stop using language that removes your power. Replace "I have to" with "I choose to." When the choice is real, replace "I cannot" with "I have not learned yet." When growth is possible, replace "they made me" with "I responded that way." When you want to understand your own behavior, this does not erase hardship. It reveals agency. It reminds you that even when you cannot control a situation, you can still choose your response. That choice is one of the most important forms of freedom. The person who accepts responsibility also begins to care more about standards. Standards are not about perfection. They are about what you will no longer accept from yourself. A low standard says it is fine to keep abandoning your goals whenever you feel tired. A stronger standard says tiredness is real, but inconsistency has consequences. A low standard says it is okay to lie to yourself and call it rest. A stronger standard says rest is honest and useful, but avoidance is not. A low standard says tomorrow will somehow fix what you keep refusing to address today. A stronger standard says today is the only place where change begins. When your standards rise, your self-respect rises with them. Self-respect is not built by repeating affirmations alone. It is built when your actions begin to prove that your life matters to you. When you eat in a way that supports your energy, you are saying your body deserves care. When you keep your environment organized, you are saying your mind deserves peace. When you follow through on a promise, you are saying your word matters. When you protect your focus, you are saying your future is valuable. When you apologize honestly, you are saying your relationships matter more than your pride. Responsibility is practical love. It is care made visible through action. Many people wait for confidence before they act. But confidence often comes after action. It comes when you survive the discomfort of beginning. It comes when you prove to yourself that you can handle more than you thought. It comes when you stop breaking your own trust. Every time you say you will do something, and then do it, you build a deeper sense of reliability within yourself. Every time you make an excuse and ignore your own word, you weaken that trust a little more. That is why responsibility changes confidence from the inside. You do not need to fake strength. You build it, piece by piece, choice by choice. There is also a deep peace that comes from accepting responsibility, because it ends the exhausting habit of trying to control everyone else. So much stress comes from expecting other people to behave the way we want. We want them to understand faster, to appreciate more, to support better, to act more fairly. But while it is natural to desire good treatment from others, your peace cannot depend on controlling them. Stoic thinking reminds us that other people have their own minds and their own choices. You cannot command them. You can only govern yourself. That truth may feel limiting at first, but it is actually liberating. It brings your attention home. It teaches you where your real power is, and your real power is in the next decision, not the perfect decision, the next one. The next honest one, the next disciplined one, the next kind one, the next brave one, the next useful one. Life is not changed by a single grand gesture in most cases. It is changed by a pattern. One pattern weakens you through careless repetition. Another pattern strengthens you through deliberate repetition. Responsibility is the decision to build the second pattern on purpose. If you want to make responsibility real in daily life, begin with a morning check-in. Before the noise of the day takes over, take a few quiet minutes and ask yourself 3 questions. What is in my control today? What is the most important thing I need to do? What choice would make me proud tonight? These are simple questions, but they cut through confusion. They move you from drift to direction. Then act on the answer. Do not wait for perfect energy. Start with one meaningful action. Make your bed. Drink water. Write down the priority. Walk for a few minutes. Send the important message. Begin the work. Small beginnings create momentum. Later in the day, pause again and notice whether your actions still match your values. Not perfectly. No one is perfect, but honestly, are you focused or scattered? Are you calm or reactive? Are you using your time well or giving it away? Are you speaking with care or letting frustration lead? This kind of self-observation is not self-criticism. It is self-leadership. You are learning to guide yourself instead of drifting through the day. Leadership starts with the ability to manage your own mind and behavior. There will be moments when you fail to live up to your standards. That is part of being human. The answer is not to collapse into guilt or give up because you slipped. The answer is to respond quickly and wisely. A responsible person does not need to dramatize mistakes. They learn from them. They correct course. They ask what led to the mistake and what can be changed next time. They do not use one bad hour to destroy the rest of the day. They do not use one bad day to destroy the month. They do not use one hard season to write off their future. They recover. That is strength. Recovery is a major part of responsibility because life will test your plans. Some days will be smooth. Others will surprise you. Something will go wrong. You will get tired. You will misunderstand someone. You will miss a goal. You will make a poor choice. The question is not whether life will challenge you. It will. The question is whether you will keep responding with maturity. Responsibility says I can adapt, I can correct, I can continue. I do not need a perfect week to remain a committed person. I only need to return to my standards again and again. This chapter is about more than discipline. It is about identity. When you consistently take responsibility, you begin to see yourself differently. You are no longer the person who waits for rescue. You are the person who builds. You are no longer the person who explains life away. You are the person who meets life with character. You are no longer the person who lives under every impulse. You are the person who chooses. That identity is worth protecting because it creates lasting freedom. Protecting that identity means being careful with the stories you tell yourself. Some inner stories are weak and repetitive. They say, I always fail. I never finish. I am just not that kind of person. I am bad at discipline. I cannot stay consistent. These stories may feel familiar, but they are not truth. They are habits of thought. And habits of thought can change. Begin replacing them with statements grounded in reality. I have struggled and I can improve. I have delayed before and I can start now. I have been inconsistent and I can build better habits. I am learning to act with more care. I am becoming more responsible every day. This is not empty positivity. It is directed truth. It also helps to simplify your environment because responsibility is easier when life is not cluttered with too many useless triggers. Look at the spaces you occupy. Are they helping you focus or pulling your attention apart? Look at the apps and devices you use. Are they serving a purpose or feeding distraction? Look at the people and conversations around you. Are they encouraging growth or normalizing excuses? Responsible living includes arranging your surroundings so your better choices become easier to make. You do not need a perfect world. You need a wise one. Another practical way to strengthen responsibility is to keep small promises. Do not wait for a huge goal to test your character. Start with manageable promises you can actually keep. Read for 10 minutes. Walk after lunch. Shut down work at a reasonable time. Write your plan for tomorrow before bed. Clean one part of your room. Speak more honestly. Finish one task before checking your phone. Every kept promise is a brick in the foundation of self-trust. Over time, these bricks become a strong life. Responsibility also changes the way you see setbacks. A setback is not always a sign that you are failing. Often it is information. It shows you where your plan was weak. It shows you where your habits need support. It shows you where your patience needs growth. If you learn to ask what this setback is teaching me, then pain becomes useful. That does not make the setback pleasant. It makes it meaningful. And meaning helps you endure. Meaning helps you continue. The goal is not to become harsh with yourself. Harshness is not responsibility. Harshness can hide fear and shame. Responsibility is firmer and kinder at the same time. It tells the truth without self-destruction. It notices weakness without worshipping it. It corrects without cruelty. It expects more without denying your humanity. That balance is important. The strongest people are not those who feel nothing. They are those who can face reality without collapsing under it. So when life feels heavy, return to this truth. Your choices matter. Your response matters. Your standards matter. Your attention matters. Your habits matter. Your life is not built in one dramatic moment. It is built through the way you handle ordinary moments, the way you wake up, the way you speak, the way you work, the way you rest, the way you recover, the way you return. Responsibility lives there. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what is yours to do. That is enough for today. It is not everything, but it is enough. And enough is where transformation begins. The person who takes full responsibility stops waiting for life to become easier before becoming stronger. They become stronger now. They choose carefully now. They care for their mind now. They protect their energy now. They honor their future now. A meaningful life is not found by accident. It is created by repeated responsible action. The more you own your life, the less power confusion has over you. The more honestly you face your choices, the less room there is for regret to control you. The more you treat your daily decisions as sacred, the more your life begins to reflect strength, peace, and purpose. That is how high performance grows, not through pressure alone, but through care. Not through constant strain, but through intentional self care rooted in responsibility. When you take care of yourself wisely, you are not stepping away from success. You are preparing for it. So begin today with one honest choice, then another, then another. Keep your promises, protect your attention, speak with truth, act with purpose. Return to your standards when you drift. Respect the life in front of you. You do not need a new identity handed to you. You need to practice the one that is waiting inside your own decisions. That practice begins now. Chapter 2. Focus your time on actions that create real progress. Your life begins to change the moment you stop being busy and start being effective. Many people fill their days with activity but still feel stuck at the end of the week. They move from task to task without clear direction and wonder why nothing meaningful improves. The problem is not effort. The problem is misdirected effort. When your time is not focused on actions that truly matter, your energy gets scattered and your progress becomes slow and frustrating. Time is the most valuable resource you have because once it is used, it cannot be recovered. Money can return. Opportunities can reappear. Skills can be learned again. But time moves in one direction. That is why how you use your time determines the quality of your life. If your hours are spent on low-value actions, your results will reflect that. If your hours are invested in meaningful work, your life will begin to shift in a powerful way. The first step is to understand the difference between movement and progress. Movement feels productive because it keeps you occupied. Progress is different because it moves you closer to a specific outcome. You can answer messages all day, organize small details, and handle minor tasks, and still avoid the one action that would actually improve your situation. This happens often because meaningful work usually requires focus, effort, and sometimes discomfort. The mind looks for easier alternatives. It prefers what is simple and familiar, even when it leads nowhere. To break this pattern, you must become intentional with your time. Every day you need to decide what truly matters. Not everything deserves your attention. Not every task is equally important. Some actions create real growth, while others only fill space. A responsible person learns to identify the few actions that have the greatest impact and gives them priority. This is how high performance is built, not by doing more things, but by doing the right things consistently. Start by asking a simple question each morning. What action will move my life forward today? Keep the answer clear and specific. It could be working on a skill that increases your value. It could be completing an important task you have been avoiding. It could be improving your health through exercise or proper nutrition. It could be learning something that strengthens your knowledge. The key is to choose something that produces real change, not just temporary satisfaction. Once you identify that action, protect it. Do it early if possible. Do it with focus. Do not allow distractions to take over during this time. This is where discipline becomes important. Your mind will try to delay. It will suggest easier tasks. It will remind you of how difficult the work feels. You must recognize this and continue anyway. The discomfort you feel in the beginning is part of the process. It is not a signal to stop. It is a sign that you are doing something meaningful. Many people lose time without realizing it because they never examine how their day is actually spent. Hours disappear through small habits that feel harmless but add up over time. Checking your phone repeatedly, scrolling without purpose, watching content that does not teach or inspire, and engaging in conversations that drain your energy all take away from your potential. These actions do not look dangerous in the moment, but they quietly reduce your ability to focus and perform. Awareness is powerful here. Pay attention to how you spend your time for one full day. Notice where your attention goes. Notice how often you switch tasks. Notice how long you stay focused before getting distracted. This is not about judging yourself. It is about understanding your current behavior so you can improve it. Once you see clearly, you can start making better decisions. One effective method is to work in focused blocks of time. Choose a single task and give it your full attention for a set period. During that time, remove anything that could interrupt you. Put your phone away. Close unnecessary tabs. Let people know you are not available for a short period. Then work with full intention. This kind of deep focus produces higher quality results in less time. It also trains your mind to stay engaged without constant stimulation. After completing a focused block, take a short break to recover. This balance between effort and rest allows you to maintain energy throughout the day. Without rest, your mind becomes tired and your performance drops. Without focus, your time becomes scattered and unproductive. The goal is to create a rhythm that supports consistent progress. Another important step is learning to say no. Many people struggle with this because they want to be helpful or avoid conflict, but saying yes to everything means saying no to your own priorities. Every time you agree to something unnecessary, you reduce the time available for what truly matters. This does not mean you should ignore your responsibilities or refuse to help others when needed. It means you should be selective. Protect your time by choosing commitments that align with your goals and values. Clarity also plays a major role. If you do not know what you are working toward, it becomes easy to waste time. Set clear goals for yourself. Know what you want to achieve in your personal life, your work, and your health. When your direction is clear, it becomes easier to decide how to spend your time. You can quickly recognize which actions support your goals and which ones distract you from them. At the same time, avoid overloading yourself with too many goals. Trying to improve everything at once leads to confusion and burnout. Focus on a few key areas that matter most right now. Give them your attention. Progress in these areas will create momentum that spreads into other parts of your life. Energy management is also essential. You cannot use your time effectively if your energy is low. Pay attention to your body and mind. Get enough rest. Eat in a way that supports your health. Move your body regularly. These are not small details. They directly affect your ability to focus and perform. When your energy is strong, your time becomes more valuable because you can use it more effectively. There will be days when things do not go as planned. You may lose focus. You may spend time on the wrong activities. This is normal. What matters is how quickly you adjust. Do not waste energy feeling frustrated. Instead, return to your priorities and continue. Consistency does not mean perfection. It means coming back to what matters again and again. Another powerful habit is reviewing your day. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to reflect. Ask yourself what actions created real progress. Ask what distracted you. Ask what you can improve tomorrow. This simple practice builds awareness and helps you make better choices over time. Small adjustments made daily lead to significant improvement. It is also important to measure progress in a realistic way. Some results take time. You may not see immediate change after a single day of focused work. This can be discouraging if you expect quick results. Instead, shift your focus to the process. If you are consistently taking the right actions, progress is happening even if it is not immediately visible. Trust the process and continue. Surround yourself with influences that support your focus. The people you interact with and the content you consume shape your mindset. If you are constantly exposed to negativity or distraction, it becomes harder to stay disciplined. Choose environments that encourage growth. Spend time with people who value progress. Learn from those who use their time wisely. Remember that focusing your time is not about removing all enjoyment from your life. Rest and relaxation are important. The difference is intention. Choose when to rest and how to rest. Do not let it become an automatic habit that takes over your day. When you work with focus, you can enjoy your free time without guilt because you know you have used your time well. Your future is built through how you spend your present. Every hour carries weight. Every decision shapes your direction. When you begin to focus your time on actions that create real progress, you gain control over your life in a powerful way. You stop drifting. You start building. The process is simple, but it requires commitment. Decide what matters. Act on it with focus. Protect your time. Review your progress. Adjust when needed. Repeat this daily. Over time, these small disciplined actions will create results that once seemed difficult to reach. You do not need more time. You need better use of the time you already have. Start today by choosing one meaningful action and giving it your full attention. Complete it with care. Then choose the next. Keep going. This is how progress is created. This is how a strong life is built. Chapter 30. Eliminate distractions that weaken your focus and energy. Your greatest strength will never reach its full power if your attention is constantly under attack. Distraction is not just a minor inconvenience. It quietly drains your energy, weakens your discipline, and keeps your potential locked behind unfinished effort. Many people believe they lack motivation or ability, but in reality they are surrounded by interruptions that break their focus before it has a chance to grow. Focus is a skill, and like any skill it requires protection. Every time your attention shifts without purpose, your mind loses momentum. It takes time to return to a deep level of thinking, and repeated interruptions make it difficult to produce meaningful work. When this becomes a daily pattern, progress slows down, frustration builds, and confidence begins to fade. You start many things but complete very little, and over time this creates a quiet sense of disappointment in yourself. To change this, you must take control of what enters your attention. Not everything deserves a place in your day. Some things appear harmless, but slowly reduce your ability to stay present. A quick check of your phone becomes several minutes of scrolling. A short break turns into a long delay. A simple notification pulls you away from something important. These moments seem small, but when repeated they shape your habits and your results. The first step is to recognize that distraction is often chosen, not forced. It feels automatic, but there is usually a moment where you decide to shift your attention. That moment is where your power exists. You can either follow the impulse or pause and stay with your task. This awareness gives you control. Without it, you operate on habit and lose direction. Start by identifying your most common distractions. Be honest with yourself. It could be your phone, social media, unnecessary conversations, constant checking of messages, or even your own thoughts pulling you away from what matters. Write them down if needed. When you clearly see what interrupts your focus, you can begin to manage it. Once you know your distractions, reduce their presence. Do not rely on willpower alone. Change your environment so that focus becomes easier. If your phone is a problem, place it out of reach when you work. Turn off notifications that are not essential. If your workspace is cluttered, clean it so your mind feels calm and directed. If noise affects you, find a quieter place or use simple methods to reduce it. These adjustments may seem small, but they remove many unnecessary interruptions. Discipline becomes stronger when your environment supports your intention. You are not trying to fight distraction every second. You are creating conditions where focus is natural. This approach is more sustainable and less exhausting. It allows you to use your energy for meaningful work instead of constant resistance. Another important step is to train your mind to stay with one task at a time. Multitasking feels productive, but it often leads to lower quality results and increased mental fatigue. When your attention is divided, your brain works harder but produces less. Choose one task and give it your full presence. Complete it or reach a clear stopping point before moving to something else. This builds mental strength and improves the quality of your output. At first, staying focused may feel uncomfortable. Your mind is used to constant stimulation. It may seek distraction out of habit. You might feel the urge to check your phone or switch tasks even when you know it is not necessary. This is normal. Do not react to every urge. Let it pass. Stay with your work. Over time your mind will adapt and focus will become easier. Energy plays a key role in your ability to avoid distractions. When your energy is low, your mind looks for easy sources of stimulation. This is why people often become distracted when they are tired, stressed, or overwhelmed. Take care of your physical and mental health. Rest when needed. Eat in a way that supports your energy. Move your body regularly. When your energy is strong, your ability to focus improves naturally. It is also important to set clear intentions before you begin any task. If you start working without a clear goal, your mind will wander. Define what you want to accomplish. Keep it simple and specific. When your purpose is clear, it becomes easier to stay engaged. You know what you are working toward, and this gives your mind direction. Time boundaries can also help. Decide how long you will focus on a task and commit to that period. During that time, Remove all unnecessary interruptions. Knowing that there is a clear end point makes it easier to stay disciplined. After the time is complete, take a short break to recover. This creates a balanced rhythm between effort and rest. Be careful with the content you consume. Not all information is useful. Constant exposure to random content can overload your mind and reduce your ability to think clearly. Choose what you watch, read, and listen to with intention. Focus on material that supports your growth and aligns with your goals. This protects your mental space and keeps your attention sharp. There will be moments when distractions still appear. Life is not completely under your control. Unexpected situations will arise. The key is how you respond. Do not let one interruption lead to a complete loss of focus. Return to your task as soon as possible. This ability to recover quickly is a sign of strong discipline. Another powerful practice is to create moments of silence in your day. Constant noise and stimulation make it difficult to think deeply. Spend a few minutes without any input. No phone, no conversation, no background noise. Just sit and allow your mind to settle. This improves clarity and strengthens your ability to focus when you return to your work. Your attention is one of your most valuable assets. Where you direct it determines what grows in your life. If your attention is scattered, your results will be scattered. If your attention is focused, your results will begin to align with your effort. This is a simple truth, but it requires consistent practice. You must also understand that not every distraction is external. Some come from within. Worry, doubt, and overthinking can pull your attention away from the present moment. When this happens, bring your focus back to what you can control right now. Take one step, complete one action. This grounds your mind and reduces unnecessary mental noise. Avoid the habit of seeking constant comfort. Distractions often provide quick relief from effort or discomfort. But this relief is temporary and comes at a cost. It delays progress and weakens discipline. Learn to stay with the task, even when it feels challenging. This builds resilience and strengthens your ability to perform under pressure. It is helpful to remind yourself why focus matters. Your goals require attention. Your growth requires effort. Your future depends on what you do today. When you keep this in mind, it becomes easier to let go of distractions that do not serve you. You begin to value your time and energy more deeply. Accountability can also support your efforts. Share your goals with someone who values discipline. Check in with them regularly. This creates a sense of responsibility and encourages consistency. When you know someone else is aware of your progress, you are more likely to stay committed. Celebrate small wins. Each time you complete a task without distraction, acknowledge it. This reinforces positive behavior and builds confidence. Progress is not only about big achievements, it is also about the daily habits that move you forward. Do not expect immediate perfection. Changing your habits takes time. You may still face moments of distraction. What matters is your commitment to improve. Each day is an opportunity to become more focused, more disciplined, and more in control of your attention. The path to high performance is built on the ability to direct your energy where it matters most. When you eliminate distractions, you create space for growth. You allow your mind to work at a deeper level. You begin to see results that were not possible before. Take a moment to decide what deserves your focus today. Remove what does not support it. Commit to your task with full presence. Stay with it even when it feels difficult. This is how you build strength. This is how you protect your potential. Chapter 4c: Build mental strength by facing challenges without avoidance. Strength is not proven when life is easy. Strength is revealed when pressure rises and you stay standing anyway. Every person faces difficulty, but not every person learns from it. Some people run from discomfort at the first sign of strain. They delay, they distract themselves. They look for relief before they look for growth. That habit may feel safe for a moment, but it slowly weakens the mind. Real mental strength is built when you face challenges directly without avoiding what is hard. Avoidance gives short comfort and long weakness. It teaches the mind to fear effort. It turns small problems into heavy ones because each time you postpone a challenge, you train yourself to believe you cannot handle it. The more often you avoid, the more fragile you become. The more often you face difficulty with calm discipline, the more resilient you grow. This is how mental strength develops, not through fantasy, not through easy words, through repeated contact with reality. A strong mind does not mean a life without pain. It means a life where pain does not control your choices. You may feel fear and still move forward. You may feel uncertain and still take the next step. You may feel tired and still complete what matters. This is not about forcing yourself into constant struggle. It is about refusing to let discomfort make your decisions for you. That is the difference between a weak response and a strong one. Many of the hardest moments in life are not difficult because they are impossible. They are difficult because they demand honesty. You have to admit that something needs to change. You have to admit that a habit is hurting you. You have to admit that a conversation cannot be delayed forever. You have to admit that growth will require effort and patience. The mind resists this honesty because it wants ease, but ease is not always healing. Sometimes what you need most is directness. Building mental strength begins with your reaction to discomfort. When a hard task appears, notice the urge to step back. Do not shame yourself for that urge. Simply recognize it. Then choose differently. Start the task before your mind has time to make excuses. Write the first sentence. Make the first call. Study the first page. Begin the first set. The first action matters because it breaks the spell of avoidance. Once movement begins, the mind often becomes less fearful. A useful practice is to treat discomfort as training rather than danger. Not every uncomfortable moment is harmful. Many are signals that you are stretching beyond old limits. When you have to speak up after staying silent for too long, that discomfort is teaching courage. When you need to finish a task after wanting to quit, that discomfort is teaching discipline. When you face a truth you have been avoiding, that discomfort is teaching maturity. The challenge is not there to break you. It is there to build capacity. Stoic wisdom teaches that external events will never wait for us to feel ready. Life comes with pressure. Plans fail. People misunderstand. Bodies get tired. Markets change. Relationships strain. Delays happen. The question is whether you will collapse inside every time life becomes difficult, or whether you will learn to answer each event with steadiness. Mental strength is the ability to remain grounded while the outside world shifts. You do not need to control everything. You need to control your response. This begins with the inner voice. The words you say to yourself during hard moments shape how you perform. If your inner voice says, "I cannot handle this," then your energy drops before you even begin. If your inner voice says, "This is difficult but possible," then your mind stays open. Learn to speak to yourself with firmness and respect. Do not lie to yourself. Do not inflate your abilities. Simply tell the truth in a way that supports action. This challenge is hard. I can still take one step. I do not need to know everything right now. I only need to begin. There is power in facing small challenges on purpose. Do not wait for crisis to test your character. Build it in ordinary moments. Choose the hard conversation instead of avoiding it. Finish the work before giving yourself entertainment. Wake up when you said you would. Hold your posture when you feel lazy. Stay present when your mind wants to drift. These daily decisions train resilience far more effectively than occasional bursts of effort. Mental strength is shaped in repetition. It also helps to understand that fear often shrinks after action begins. Before you move, the task may feel huge. After you start, it becomes more manageable. The mind creates worst-case stories when you stand still too long. It imagines failure. It predicts embarrassment. It rehearses pain. But the body and mind often calm down once you are in motion. This is why procrastination is so dangerous. It allows imagination to dominate reality. Action restores proportion. When a challenge is especially heavy, divide it into smaller parts. You do not have to solve the whole thing at once. You only need to engage with the next piece. If a project feels overwhelming, identify the first required step. If a difficult conversation feels intimidating, prepare one honest sentence. If a personal problem feels too large to carry alone, seek support and begin the process carefully. Breaking a challenge into manageable parts does not weaken you. It makes courage practical. Mental strength also depends on recovery. Facing challenges does not mean destroying yourself in the process. It means meeting difficulty with discipline and then restoring your energy wisely. Rest is not avoidance when it is chosen with purpose. Rest is part of resilience. A tired mind is more likely to retreat into fear and delay. A rested mind can think clearly and act with greater steadiness. Take care of your sleep, your body, and your attention so you can continue meeting life with strength. You will notice that your mind grows stronger every time you survive something you once feared. The first time you do something difficult, it may feel large. The second time it feels more familiar. The third time it begins to feel possible. This is how confidence develops from experience rather than from wishful thinking. Each challenge faced becomes evidence that you are more capable than your fear suggested. That evidence matters. It changes how you see yourself. It is also important not to confuse strength with silence. Avoidance often hides behind silence. A person may appear calm while actually avoiding the truth. Real strength is not pretending everything is fine. Real strength is being able to face what is wrong without losing composure. That may mean asking for help. That may mean admitting that you are overwhelmed. That may mean changing a plan that is no longer working. There is no weakness in honesty. There is only weakness in denial. When you stop avoiding challenges, you begin to respect yourself more deeply. You see that you can endure more than you thought. You discover that courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to act with fear present. You learn that difficult moments are not only obstacles, they are opportunities to develop character. Every challenge faced with patience and discipline becomes part of your strength. There will still be days when you want to retreat. That is normal. What matters is whether you stay trapped in retreat or return to the task. A strong person is not someone who never feels resistance. A strong person is someone who does not obey resistance blindly. The mind may ask for escape. You can answer with action. The mind may ask for delay. You can answer with commitment. The mind may ask for comfort. You can answer with purpose. When you practice this again and again, your life changes in visible ways. You become less shaken by pressure. You become less controlled by mood. You become more willing to face truth. You become more dependable in hard moments. Others may notice your calmness before you do. They will see that you no longer collapse at the first sign of struggle. That is the mark of a trained mind. The goal is not to become cold. It is not to become hard in a lifeless way. It is to become steady. A steady person can feel deeply and still think clearly. A steady person can care without being ruled by fear. A steady person can meet challenge with dignity. That kind of strength is available to anyone willing to practice it. So when the next hard thing appears, do not run from it too quickly. Pause, breathe, name the task. Begin. Stay with it long enough to prove that discomfort is not your master. Let each challenge teach you how to stay present. Let each difficult moment shape a stronger mind. Let each act of courage build a life that can hold more responsibility, more peace, and more success. You do not become mentally strong by waiting for easier days. You become mentally strong by learning how to stand firm on difficult days. That decision changes everything. Chapter 50. Practice gratitude daily to shift your mindset toward positivity. Gratitude can change the way you live before your life changes on the outside. It does not erase hardship, and it does not pretend that pain is not real. What it does is train your mind to stop seeing only what is missing and start noticing what is already working. That shift matters more than many people realize. A mind that only counts problems becomes heavy and restless. A mind that learns to see value becomes calmer, stronger, and more capable of moving forward. Many people think gratitude is only about being polite or saying thank you when something good happens. But real gratitude is deeper than that. It is a daily practice of attention. It is the choice to notice the useful, the meaningful, and the steady parts of life, even when you are facing pressure. It is not about denying what is hard. It is about refusing to let difficulty become the only thing you see. That kind of thinking protects your peace and supports your growth. The human mind naturally leans toward what is wrong. It notices danger quickly. It remembers criticism longer than praise. It focuses on what has not been solved. This is part of how the mind stays alert, but it can also become a trap. If you never guide your attention, you may end up living in a constant state of dissatisfaction. You may look at your life and always feel behind. You may have progress and still feel empty. Gratitude interrupts that pattern. It trains your attention to include the good that is already present. This does not mean you stop improving. In fact, gratitude makes improvement stronger because it removes the bitterness that often blocks growth. A grateful person is not lazy. A grateful person sees clearly. They understand that progress is easier when the mind is not consumed by resentment. They also know that every improvement becomes more meaningful when it is built on appreciation rather than complaint. One of the simplest ways to begin is to pause each morning before the day becomes crowded. Before messages, before noise, before pressure, take a few moments and notice 3 things that are already supporting your life. It may be your breath. It may be the bed you slept in. It may be the chance to begin again. It may be your ability to walk, think, read, or work. These things can feel ordinary when they are always available, but they are not small. They are part of the foundation that makes growth possible. Gratitude works best when it is specific. General appreciation is nice, but specific gratitude has more power. Instead of saying, "I am thankful for my life," say, "I am thankful for the friend who checked on me. I am thankful for the quiet minutes before sunrise. I am thankful for the lesson I learned from a hard day." Specific gratitude brings your mind closer to reality. It helps you see details that would otherwise be ignored, and details matter because real peace is built from real awareness. There will be days when gratitude feels difficult. That is normal. It is much easier to feel thankful when things are going smoothly. The stronger practice is to find something worth appreciating even when the day is not ideal. This does not mean you force false positivity. It means you search honestly for what remains good. Maybe the situation is hard, but you still have the ability to respond wisely. Maybe the result was disappointing, but you learned something useful. Maybe the journey is slow, but you are still moving. Gratitude does not remove the challenge. It gives you a better way to stand inside it. A grateful mind becomes more resilient because it does not collapse when things are imperfect. It understands that one difficult moment does not cancel every blessing around it. This kind of thinking gives emotional balance. Without it, people often let one problem color the entire day. One mistake becomes proof that everything is wrong. One delay becomes a reason to quit. Gratitude helps break that habit. It reminds you that life holds both difficulty and support at the same time. You can also use gratitude to improve your relationships. People respond differently when they feel seen and appreciated. A simple, honest thank you can strengthen trust more than long speeches. When you notice the effort of others and say it clearly, you create goodwill. You also train yourself to stop taking people for granted. This matters because gratitude expands your heart without making you weak. It helps you become more grounded, more respectful, and more aware of the value others bring to your life. Another powerful effect of gratitude is that it lowers the pressure to chase constant comparison. Comparison often makes people feel behind even when they are doing well. They look at what others have and forget their own progress. They see someone else's highlight and judge their own ordinary day. Gratitude brings you back to your own path. It reminds you that your life has meaning even if it is not identical to anyone else's. You do not need to copy another person's timeline to have worth. You need to honor your own growth and keep building it. Practicing gratitude daily also sharpens your focus on what is useful. When your mind is not busy complaining, it has more room for action. You think more clearly. You respond more calmly. You spend less energy on regret and more energy on what can be done now. This is one reason gratitude supports high performance. It reduces mental clutter. It helps you begin from a steadier place. A steady mind makes better choices. One practical way to build this habit is to end the day by reviewing what went right. Not only the big things, the small things count too. Maybe you stayed patient in a difficult conversation. Maybe you finished a task you had delayed. Maybe you took care of your body. Maybe you avoided a reaction you would have regretted. These wins matter. When you acknowledge them, you teach your mind to notice progress instead of only flaws. Over time, this creates a more encouraging inner voice. You can also practice silent gratitude during ordinary moments. While drinking water, notice that it refreshes you. While walking, notice that your body carries you. While sitting in a quiet room, notice the relief of stillness. While hearing rain or wind, notice the calm it brings. These small moments may seem simple, but they train your mind to be present. Presence is powerful because it keeps you from living only and worry about what comes next. Some people fear gratitude will make them passive. It will not when it is practiced with wisdom. Real gratitude does not tell you to stop working. It tells you to work from a healthier state. It helps you remember that effort is not pointless and life is not empty. It gives you the emotional stability to keep going when results are slow. It also prevents success from turning into arrogance. A grateful person knows that achievement is valuable, but not the only source of meaning. When you are grateful, you become easier to encourage and harder to break. Complaints can make a person brittle because they constantly see life as lacking. Gratitude makes a person more flexible because they can recognize both weakness and strength without panic. They know what still needs work, and they also know what is already good. That balance is important for long-term growth. The more you practice gratitude, the more natural it becomes. At first it may feel like an exercise. Later it becomes part of how you think. You begin to spot value faster. You recover from disappointment more quickly. You waste less time resenting what you cannot control. You develop a quieter confidence because your mind is no longer always chasing the next thing before appreciating the current one. If you want to shift your mindset toward positivity, do not wait for perfect conditions. Begin exactly where you are. Choose one moment today to stop and appreciate something real, then do it again tomorrow. And the day after that. Keep it simple, keep it honest, keep it consistent. A grateful mind is not built in one dramatic moment. It is built through repeated attention to what is still good. Your life will always contain both challenge and support. The question is what you train your mind to see first. If you train it to notice only the lack, you will feel tired before the day is done. If you train it to notice value, you will carry more strength into every task. Gratitude does not remove the work. It changes the spirit in which you do the work, and that changes everything. Chapter 6c. Protect your time by setting clear and firm boundaries. Your future will stay protected only when you learn to protect your time with courage and clarity. Time is one of the most precious parts of your life because every hour you lose is gone forever. You can earn money again. You can rebuild after mistakes. You can learn new skills and meet new people. But time does not return. That is why boundaries are not a luxury. They are a form of self-respect. They are a quiet but powerful way of saying that your life matters, and your goals matter, and your peace matters. Many people struggle because they give too much of themselves away. They say yes when they want to say no. They answer every request. They let every interruption enter their day. They stay available to everyone, and then wonder why they have no energy left for the things that truly matter. A life without boundaries becomes a life shaped by the needs of others. That may look kind from the outside, but inside it slowly creates frustration, fatigue, and regret. Setting boundaries is not about becoming cold or selfish. It is about becoming responsible. It means understanding that your time and attention are limited and that not every demand deserves your response. It means realizing that you cannot build a meaningful life while allowing constant interruption to control your schedule. If you do not decide how your time will be used, someone else will decide for you. One of the first signs that your boundaries are weak is when you feel pulled in too many directions. Your mind becomes crowded. Your day fills up before you even begin. You spend energy reacting instead of creating. You try to keep up with everything and end up doing nothing deeply. This is exhausting because your attention is being divided by too many voices. A strong boundary brings order to that chaos. It creates space for what is important. A clear boundary starts with clarity about what truly matters to you. You need to know your priorities before you can protect them. If you do not know what deserves your time, then anything can take it. Think carefully about the areas of life that require your best energy: your health, your work, your learning, your family, your rest, your purpose. These are not random concerns. They are the core areas that shape your future. When you understand this, you become more selective about where your time goes. A firm boundary does not need to be rude. It needs to be honest. You can say no kindly. You can decline a request without guilt. You can delay a conversation until a better time. You can leave a situation that drains you. You can silence a device when you need focus. You can protect your evening from unnecessary demands. These actions do not make you less caring. They make your care more sustainable. The hardest part for many people is not knowing what to say but fearing how others will respond. They worry that someone will be disappointed or that they will seem difficult. This fear can lead people to ignore their own needs again and again. But if you keep betraying your own limits to make others comfortable, you will eventually feel empty inside. There is no healthy life in constant self-abandonment. Respecting your own limits is not rejection of others. It is respect for reality. It helps to remember that every yes has a cost. When you agree to one thing, you are also saying no to something else. You may be saying no to rest, no to focus, no to recovery, no to a task that would have moved your life forward. Many people forget this simple truth. They think every request can be accepted without consequence. But time works that way. What you give away cannot be used again. This is why wise people choose carefully. One useful habit is to plan your day before it begins. Decide in advance what needs your attention. Put your priorities in order, then guard those hours. Do not let random interruptions decide the structure of your day. When a request comes in, ask yourself whether it fits your purpose or weakens it. That small pause can save hours of wasted energy. Boundaries grow stronger when decisions are made with intention instead of impulse. Another important boundary is protecting your mind from constant access. Not every message needs instant response. Not every voice deserves immediate access to your thoughts. Create moments in the day when you are unavailable so you can think clearly and work without distraction. This is not avoidance. It is discipline. A mind that never gets space becomes crowded and reactive. A mind that has protected time can think deeply and act wisely. It is also wise to set emotional boundaries. Some people will pull on your energy by bringing constant drama, confusion, or negativity into your life. You do not have to absorb everything around you. You can care without carrying what is not yours. You can listen without losing your peace. You can help without becoming trapped. Emotional maturity means learning how to stay open without becoming drained. Boundaries also apply to your habits. If certain patterns are stealing your time, then they need limits. Endless scrolling, late-night distraction, unnecessary checking, repeated postponing. These habits eat the space that could be used for growth. Protect your mornings, protect your work time, protect your sleep. Protect the hours when your mind is sharpest. A strong life is built by defending these windows with consistency. You may notice that the more serious you become about your goals, the more important your boundaries will feel. Growth requires room. A crowded life leaves no space for depth. If every hour is taken by other people's needs, your own development will stay delayed. Protecting time is not about isolation. It is about making room for a life that reflects your values instead of only your obligations. Sometimes the people closest to you will need time to adjust to your new boundaries. That can feel uncomfortable. You may worry that they will not understand. Stay steady. A healthy boundary may create temporary tension, but it prevents long-term resentment. People may not always like your limits at first, but they will respect you more when they see that you respect yourself. There is also peace in knowing that boundaries simplify decision-making. When your limits are clear, you do not waste mental energy debating every request. You already know what your yes means and what your no protects. This saves attention and reduces stress. A person with clear boundaries moves through life with more calm because they are not constantly negotiating their own availability. If you struggle with boundaries, start small. Choose one area where your time is being taken too easily. Maybe it is constant phone checking. Maybe it is saying yes to extra tasks. Maybe it is letting other people interrupt your focus. Start there. Create one clear rule and follow it. Small boundaries practiced consistently become stronger over time. You do not need to change everything at once. You need to begin with truth and repetition. It may help to remind yourself that protecting your time is not a rejection of love. It is an act of wisdom. You are not becoming less generous. You are becoming more intentional. A person who is always overextended cannot give their best to anyone, but a person who knows their limits can show up with more patience, more strength, and more presence. That is a better kind of giving. Your time is your life in motion. Every hour carries value. Every choice directs your future. When you protect your time with clear and firm boundaries, you are not shutting life out. You are making space for what deserves to stay. You are choosing quality over chaos. You are choosing depth over overload. You are choosing to live with purpose instead of pressure. From this point forward, let your boundaries reflect your values. Let your yes be thoughtful. Let your no be honest. Let your attention be guarded. Let your schedule serve your growth. The life you want will not appear by accident. It will be built in the spaces you protect. Chapter 70. Improve your focus by working with deep and clear intention. Your greatest results will come when your attention becomes sharp, stable, and fully directed toward what truly matters. Most people do not struggle because they lack talent. They struggle because their focus is constantly broken. Their mind jumps from one task to another without depth. They start something, then stop. They check messages, then return. They switch between ideas, then feel confused about progress. Over time, this scattered attention creates the feeling of being busy without being productive. Real success begins when you stop spreading your energy thin and start directing it with intention. Deep and clear intention means you begin your work with full awareness of what you want to achieve in that moment. It is not about doing many things at once. It is about doing one thing with complete presence. When your mind is fully engaged in a single direction, your output becomes stronger and your progress becomes faster. You stop wasting energy on switching and correcting and restarting. The first step toward improving focus is learning to remove mental noise before you begin. Your environment and your thoughts both influence your attention. If your surroundings are messy or distracting, your mind will follow that pattern. If your thoughts are unclear, your actions will be uncertain. Before you start any important task, take a short moment to settle your mind. Decide exactly what needs to be done and why it matters. This simple act creates direction and reduces confusion. Clear intention is what separates action from distraction. Two people can sit at the same desk for the same amount of time, but produce very different results. One works with a scattered mind while the other works with a focused purpose. The difference is not effort alone. It is clarity. When you know exactly what you are doing and why you are doing it, your attention becomes naturally stronger. Focus is also a skill that grows through repetition. At first, your mind will resist deep work. It will look for shortcuts and distractions. It will try to pull you away toward easier stimulation. This is normal. The mind is used to constant switching, but like any skill, focus becomes stronger every time you return to your task without giving in to distraction. Each return builds mental discipline. One powerful habit is to begin your day with a single clear priority. Not a long list of tasks, but one meaningful direction. When your first focus is strong, it sets the tone for everything that follows. If you start your day by reacting to messages or random inputs, your attention becomes fragmented early. But if you start by doing deep work first, your mind learns that clarity comes before chaos. Another important part of deep focus is controlling the speed of your thinking. Many people rush mentally even when the task does not require speed. This creates stress and mistakes. Instead, slow your mind down and fully engage with the present step. Work with steady attention rather than rushed energy. When you slow down internally, your accuracy and understanding improve. Clear intention also means removing unnecessary decisions during your work time. Every small decision drains mental energy. What to check, what to open, what to do next. When these decisions are repeated constantly, your focus weakens. Instead, plan your work in advance so that when you begin, you already know the direction. This reduces friction and keeps your mind steady. Distraction is often not just external, it is also internal. Thoughts about the past or worries about the future pull attention away from what is in front of you. When this happens, do not fight the thoughts. Simply notice them and return to your task. Focus is not about never getting distracted. It is about returning quickly without losing direction. A strong practice is to set clear time blocks for deep work. Choose a period where you commit to one task without interruption. During this time, remove unnecessary access to distractions. Let your mind know that this space is for focused effort only. Over time, your brain adapts and enters focus more easily when that time arrives. It is also important to understand that focus is connected to energy. When you are mentally tired, your attention becomes weaker. That is why rest and recovery are not optional. Sleep well, take short breaks, step away when needed. A clear mind cannot come from constant overload. It comes from balance between effort and recovery. Working with intention also means being honest about what deserves your attention. Not every task has equal value. Some activities create progress while others only create the feeling of being busy. Before you start anything, ask yourself whether this action moves you closer to your goals or simply fills time. This awareness helps you choose better focus points. Another key practice is reducing context switching. When you move between different tasks too often, your mind loses depth. It takes time to adjust each time you switch. Instead of jumping between tasks, try completing one fully before moving to the next. This creates a sense of completion and strengthens your ability to concentrate. Focus improves when your goals are emotionally meaningful. If what you are working on feels empty or forced, your attention will naturally drift. But when there is real meaning behind your effort, your mind stays engaged for longer. Connect your daily work to a bigger purpose so your attention has direction beyond the moment. You will also notice that your environment shapes your focus more than you think. A quiet and organized space supports deep thinking. Constant noise and clutter reduce it. Create a workspace that signals your mind that it is time to concentrate. Even small changes like removing unnecessary items or turning off notifications can make a big difference. Another powerful habit is to end each work session with reflection. Take a moment to notice how focused you were and where you lost attention. This is not about criticism. It is about awareness. When you understand your focus patterns, you can improve them over time. Growth in concentration comes from observation and adjustment. It is also important to stop waiting for perfect motivation. Focus does not always begin with inspiration. Often it begins with discipline. You sit down and start even when you do not feel fully ready. Once you begin, clarity often follows action. Waiting for perfect mental energy only delays progress. Deep focus creates a different experience of time. When you are fully engaged, hours feel shorter, but results feel greater. You stop feeling scattered and start feeling grounded. Your work becomes smoother and your thinking becomes clearer. This is the state where real progress happens. Over time, as you continue to practice deep and clear intention, your mind becomes stronger. You will notice fewer distractions affecting you. You will recover faster when interrupted. You will enter focus more quickly. This is not a sudden transformation, but a gradual strengthening of mental control. Improving focus is not about forcing your mind. It is about training it with patience and structure. It is about choosing clarity over chaos again and again until it becomes your natural way of working. When your intention is clear and your attention is steady, your potential becomes far more powerful. From this point forward, let every action begin with awareness. Let every task begin with direction. Let your attention stay where your purpose is strongest. This is how deep focus is built. This is how meaningful progress begins. Chapter 80. Create a morning routine that sets a strong direction. Your entire day can change when you learn to win the first hours after waking up with clarity and purpose. The morning is not just the start of your day. It is the foundation of your mindset, your energy, and your direction. What you do in the early hours quietly decides how you think, how you act, and how you respond to challenges. Many people underestimate this moment and rush into distractions, stress, and confusion. Then they spend the rest of the day trying to recover control. A strong morning routine removes that struggle and replaces it with stability and direction. Creating a morning routine is not about copying what others do. It is about building a simple structure that prepares your mind to focus, your body to feel steady, and your actions to stay aligned with what matters. When your morning has order, your mind feels less reactive and more intentional. You stop starting your day in survival mode and begin it in control. The first step in building a powerful morning routine is to avoid immediate distraction. Many people wake up and reach for their phone before they even become fully aware of their thoughts. This instantly fills the mind with outside information, opinions, and pressure. Instead of starting with your own direction, you start with the world's noise. A strong routine begins with a quiet space where your thoughts are still your own. Give yourself a few moments of stillness after waking. Do not rush into activity. Let your mind become fully awake before you engage with anything external. This short pause creates mental space. It allows you to notice how you feel and what you need before the demands of the day take over. After this moment of stillness, bring attention to your purpose for the day. Not a long list of tasks, but a clear sense of direction. Ask yourself what truly matters today. What action will make this day meaningful? This clarity becomes a guide that influences your decisions for the rest of the day. Without this step, your attention will scatter. With it, your mind stays anchored. A strong morning routine also includes taking care of your physical state. Your body and mind are connected. When your body feels heavy or inactive, your focus becomes weaker. Simple movement in the morning can wake up your energy and improve mental clarity. It does not need to be intense or complicated. The goal is to activate your system so you feel present and alert. Hydration is another important part of this process. After hours of rest, your body needs replenishment. Drinking water helps restore balance and signals your system to wake up fully. Small physical habits like this create a foundation that supports mental performance throughout the day. Once your body is awake and your mind has direction, it is important to engage in something that builds inner strength. This could be reading something meaningful, reflecting on your goals, or simply sitting in quiet thought. The purpose is not consumption, but alignment. You are preparing your mind to stay steady when challenges appear later in the day. One of the most powerful aspects of a morning routine is intentional planning. Instead of reacting to the day as it unfolds, you decide in advance how you will approach it. You identify your most important task and commit to it early. This removes uncertainty and gives your mind a clear target. When you know what matters most, your energy stops spreading in random directions. A strong morning routine also protects your attention from early stress. Many people begin their day by checking messages or news that immediately create emotional pressure. This shifts their mindset before they even have a chance to build inner stability. By delaying external input, you protect your mental state and maintain control over your emotions. Consistency is more important than complexity. A simple routine practiced every day has more power than a complicated one followed only sometimes. Your mind learns through repetition. When you repeat the same healthy structure each morning, it becomes automatic. Over time, you no longer need to think about it. You simply follow it and your day starts with strength. It is also important to design your morning routine based on reality, not perfection. You do not need hours of preparation. Even a short, focused routine can transform your direction. What matters is not length but intention. A few meaningful actions done with awareness can shape your mindset far more than long, unstructured routines. As your routine becomes consistent, you will notice a shift in how you experience your day. You will feel less rushed and more grounded. You will make decisions with more clarity. You will respond to problems with greater stability. This is because your morning has already trained your mind to operate with intention instead of reaction. Another important part of a strong morning is avoiding unnecessary decisions early on. When your mind is fresh, it should not be wasted on trivial choices. Reduce complexity in your morning so your mental energy is preserved for important thinking. The simpler your start, the stronger your focus becomes. You can also use your morning to reconnect with your values. Remind yourself of who you want to be and how you want to show up in your life. This is not about motivation that fades quickly. It is about identity. When you begin your day with a clear sense of self, your actions naturally follow that direction. Over time, your morning routine becomes more than a set of actions. It becomes a signal to your mind that the day is under your control. It creates stability even when external circumstances are uncertain. It builds confidence because you start each day by choosing discipline over distraction. There will be days when your routine feels difficult to follow. That is normal. What matters is not perfection but return. Even if you fall off for a day, you come back the next morning and reset. The strength of a routine is built through consistency over time, not flawless execution. A powerful morning routine is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters first. It is about creating a mental environment where clarity leads your actions instead of chaos. When you protect the beginning of your day, you influence everything that follows. Your mornings are not small moments. They are the foundation of your focus, your discipline, and your direction. When you take control of them, you take control of your life in a quiet but powerful way. From this point forward, let your mornings be intentional, steady, and aligned with the life you want to build. Chapter 90. Reflect each night to understand your wins and mistakes. Your growth becomes unstoppable the moment you learn how to end each day with awareness instead of distraction. Most people rush through their days without ever truly understanding what happened within them. They move from task to task, from conversation to conversation, from pressure to pressure, and then collapse into sleep without reflection. Days pass, then weeks, then years, and nothing is truly processed. Lessons are missed. Patterns are repeated. Progress feels slow not because effort is missing, but because awareness is missing. Night reflection changes this completely. When you take time at the end of the day to look back with honesty, you turn experience into wisdom. You stop living on autopilot and start learning from your own actions. Every success becomes clearer. Every mistake becomes a guide instead of a burden. This is how personal growth becomes structured instead of random. Night reflection is not about judging yourself. It is about understanding yourself. There is a difference between criticism and awareness. Criticism creates pressure. Awareness creates clarity. When you reflect at night with a calm and honest mind, you are not looking for perfection. You are looking for patterns. What worked today? What did not? Where your energy was strong? Where it was wasted? One of the most powerful parts of reflection is recognizing your wins, even the small ones. Many people ignore progress because it does not feel big enough. But small progress is the foundation of long-term change. Maybe you stayed focused a little longer than yesterday. Maybe you handled a difficult moment with more patience. Maybe you completed a task you were avoiding. These are not small things when repeated over time. They are signs of development. When you acknowledge them, you train your mind to notice growth instead of only focusing on what is missing. At the same time, reflection requires honesty about mistakes. Not to feel bad about them, but to understand them. Every mistake carries information. It shows where attention was weak, where preparation was missing, or where emotion took control. When you look at mistakes without fear, they become lessons instead of weight. You begin to see that failure is not a stop in your progress. It is a signal that helps you adjust your direction. A strong night reflection also helps you understand your emotional patterns. Throughout the day, your emotions influence your decisions more than you realize. Stress, impatience, excitement, frustration, and distraction all shape your behavior. At night, when things are quieter, you can see these patterns more clearly. You begin to notice what triggered you, what supported you, and what drained you. This awareness helps you respond better tomorrow instead of repeating the same reactions. Another important part of reflection is reviewing your focus. Ask yourself where your attention went during the day. Did it stay aligned with your priorities or drift into unnecessary areas? Were you present during important moments or mentally scattered? This is not about guilt. It is about training your awareness so your focus becomes stronger over time. Night reflection also gives you the opportunity to reset your mind. During the day, your thoughts get filled with noise. Tasks, conversations, problems, and decisions build mental pressure. Without clearing this space, you carry that weight into the next day. But when you take time to reflect, you release mental clutter. You create space for clarity. This improves both your rest and your next day's performance. It is also helpful to end your reflection with intention. After reviewing your day, decide what you want to improve tomorrow. Not in a complicated way, but in a simple direction. One adjustment, one focus, one improvement. This gives your mind a clear path forward. It turns reflection into action instead of just thought. Consistency is what makes night reflection powerful. Doing it once or twice is helpful, but doing it every night transforms your thinking. Over time, your mind becomes more aware during the day because it knows it will be reviewed later. You start catching your own patterns in real time. You become more intentional because you know you will observe your actions later. Many people avoid reflection because it feels uncomfortable to look at their own behavior honestly. It is easier to stay busy than to pause and think deeply. But growth does not come from avoidance. It comes from awareness. When you face your day with honesty, you gain control over your future behavior. You stop repeating the same cycles and start building better ones. A strong reflection practice does not need to be long or complicated. Even a few quiet minutes can make a difference. What matters is sincerity. You are not performing. You are observing. You are not trying to impress yourself. You are trying to understand yourself. This shift in mindset changes everything. As you build this habit, you will notice something powerful. Your days begin to improve even before they end. Because you know you will reflect at night, you start making better choices during the day. You become more mindful of how you act, how you speak, and how you use your time. Awareness begins to influence behavior in real time. Night reflection also strengthens emotional balance. When you process your day properly, you reduce mental tension. Instead of carrying stress into sleep, you release it. This creates a calmer mind and better rest. A rested mind is more focused, more stable, and more prepared for the next day's challenges. Over time, this practice builds a deeper relationship with yourself. You stop living reactively and start living consciously. You begin to understand what helps you grow and what holds you back. You learn your strengths and your weaknesses with clarity instead of confusion. This self-understanding becomes one of your greatest tools for success. There will be nights when you feel tired and do not want to reflect. That is normal. But even then, a short moment of awareness can keep the habit alive. A simple review of your day is enough. The goal is not perfection in reflection, but consistency in awareness. Your life is shaped by how well you understand your own actions. Without reflection, experience passes without meaning. With reflection, experience becomes guidance. Every day becomes part of your education. Every night becomes part of your improvement. From this moment forward, give yourself permission to pause at the end of each day. Look back with honesty. Acknowledge your progress. Understand your mistakes. Clear your mind, and set a simple direction for tomorrow. This is how quiet awareness becomes powerful transformation. Chapter 100. I develop patience to stay consistent during slow progress days. Patience is not passive waiting. It is the power to keep moving when results take time. Slow progress can test even the strongest person. You may work hard for days or weeks and see only small change. That can make the mind restless. It can make you doubt your effort. It can make you want to quit and search for something easier. But this is exactly where patience becomes one of the most valuable strengths you can build. Patience keeps you steady when growth is quiet. It helps you stay committed when success is not rushing toward you. Many people only trust progress when it is visible and fast. They want immediate results. They want clear signs that their effort is paying off. When those signs do not appear quickly, they start changing direction too often. They jump from one method to another and never stay long enough to let real improvement take root. But meaningful growth usually moves in a slower way. It develops through repeated effort. It deepens through consistency. It strengthens through time. Slow progress does not mean nothing is happening. Some of the most important changes begin beneath the surface. A person may not see them right away, but they are there. Habits are being formed. Strength is being built. Skill is improving. Character is becoming firmer. The outer result may still look small, while the inner foundation is growing stronger each day. Patience helps you trust that process. One reason patience matters so much is that life does not respond to pressure in the way people expect. You cannot force every result to happen quickly. Some goals need learning, some require healing, some demand practice, some only become possible after enough repetition. If you demand instant proof from every effort, you place unnecessary stress on yourself. That stress can lead to frustration and poor decisions. Patience keeps you calm enough to continue wisely. A patient person does not stop caring about results. They simply understand that good results are often built in layers. They keep showing up because they know that consistent effort matters more than emotional impatience. They do not measure their worth by the speed of the outcome. They measure it by their willingness to stay faithful to the work. That is a much stronger standard. You can begin building patience by changing how you speak to yourself when progress feels slow. Instead of saying "this is taking too long," say "this is still moving forward." Instead of saying "I am not getting anywhere," say "I am building something that needs time." The words you use matter because they shape the emotional tone of your effort. If your inner voice is harsh, your energy drops. If your inner voice is steady, your effort stays strong. It also helps to stop comparing your progress with someone else's. Comparison can destroy patience very quickly. You may see another person's success and assume your own pace is wrong. But every path has different conditions, different starting points, different challenges, different timing. Your job is not to match someone else's timeline. Your job is to stay faithful to your own growth. When you do that, patience becomes easier because you are no longer rushing to prove yourself. One practical way to strengthen patience is to focus on daily process instead of immediate reward. Ask yourself whether you are doing the work that belongs to today. Are you practicing the habit? Are you keeping the promise? Are you making the repeatable effort that leads to growth? This shift helps you remain present. It protects you from the emotional trap of expecting every day to feel exciting or dramatic. Patience also grows when you learn to respect small improvement. A tiny step may not look impressive, but repeated over time it becomes powerful. A few minutes of practice each day becomes real skill. A little effort repeated with care becomes a strong habit. A small act of discipline every morning becomes a better life over time. Slow progress is still progress. In many cases, it is the kind that lasts. There will be moments when the delay feels heavy. You may feel tired of waiting. You may wonder why your effort is not producing faster change. In those moments, remind yourself that the value of your work is not erased by the fact that it is still developing. A seed does not become a tree overnight. A strong mind does not appear in 1 week. A stable life is not assembled in a single season. It is shaped through repeated action over time. Consistency during slow progress requires trust. You need to trust that the work you are doing matters even before the results are obvious. This trust does not come from wishful thinking. It comes from understanding how growth works. Repetition matters. Practice matters. Recovery matters. Patience matters. When these things are done steadily, they create change that can be measured later. You also need to know how to handle discouragement without letting it control your choices. Disappointment is part of any serious effort. It does not mean your path is wrong. It often means your expectations need adjustment. You may be growing more slowly than you wanted, but still moving in the right direction. That is not failure. That is the reality of meaningful development. Another important part of patience is understanding that rest is not the same as quitting. On some days, progress may slow because your body or mind needs recovery. That does not mean your discipline has failed. It means you are human. A wise person knows the difference between laziness and necessary renewal. Rest with purpose. Return with commitment. Stay in the process. Patience also protects your character. When you are no longer desperate for instant results, you become more thoughtful and more stable. You make better choices because you are not constantly reacting to impatience. You stay calm under pressure. You keep your focus longer. You become less controlled by emotion and more guided by principle. That is a major part of maturity. If you want to grow in patience, start by choosing one long-term goal and committing to it without expecting immediate proof. Give it time. Work on it in small, steady steps. Track your effort rather than your emotions. Some days will feel strong. Some will feel slow. Continue anyway. Consistency is often built in the days that feel ordinary. It can also help to review your progress over longer periods instead of only looking at each day. A single day may not show much change, but a week, a month, or a season may reveal something much bigger. When you step back and look again, you often see that you have moved farther than you realized. Patience allows you to see the larger picture. Slow progress days are not wasted days. They are part of the rhythm of real growth. They teach humility. They teach endurance. They teach discipline without applause. They teach you how to keep going when the excitement has faded. Those lessons matter because the people who last are usually the ones who know how to stay steady in quiet seasons. The life you are building will not be created by one burst of effort. It will be shaped by the many days when you choose not to quit. That is why patience is so important. It gives you the strength to remain committed while your effort gathers power. It keeps you aligned with your purpose when the results are still forming. So when progress feels slow, do not assume that nothing is happening. Look at the habits you are building. Look at the discipline you are strengthening. Look at the person you are becoming. These things matter. They are the real signs of growth. Keep showing up. Keep doing the work. Keep your heart steady. Slow progress is still progress, and consistency will carry you farther than pressure ever could. Chapter 11. Strengthen your habits by repeating small actions every day. Your entire future is quietly shaped by the small actions you choose to repeat every single day. Most people think big success comes from big moments, but real transformation is built in small steps that seem almost too simple to matter. The truth is, your habits are not created in dramatic decisions. They are created in repeated behavior. What you do once has little impact on your life, but what you do daily becomes your identity. Every small action you repeat is silently training your mind, your discipline, and your direction. When you strengthen your habits through repetition, you are not just improving your routine. You are shaping who you become. A person is not defined by what they say they want. They are defined by what they consistently do. This is why small actions matter so much. They may look insignificant in the moment, but over time they build powerful momentum. Many people struggle because they try to change everything at once. They want fast transformation. They set large goals and expect immediate results, but change does not usually respond to intensity alone. It responds to consistency. When effort is repeated in small, steady ways, it becomes natural. When something becomes natural, it becomes permanent. A small action is powerful because it is easy to repeat. It does not demand extreme motivation. It does not require perfect conditions. It only requires presence. This is where real habit building begins. Instead of focusing on massive effort, focus on something simple you can do every day without resistance. The size of the action is not what creates change. The repetition is what builds strength. Your mind learns through repetition. When you repeat an action often enough, it becomes automatic. At first, it feels like effort. You have to remind yourself. You have to push yourself. But over time, your brain begins to recognize the pattern and reduce resistance. What once required discipline begins to feel normal. This is how habits become part of your identity. If you want to improve your life, do not underestimate the power of small consistency. A few minutes of focus each day can build strong attention. A small act of organization each morning can create mental clarity. A simple daily reflection can improve awareness. These actions may feel minor, but their repetition changes your internal structure over time. One of the most important parts of habit building is starting small enough that you cannot fail. Many people make the mistake of choosing habits that are too large, too demanding, or too complex. They begin with high expectations and quickly lose momentum. A strong habit is not the one that feels impressive. It is the one that feels sustainable. If you can repeat it even on your worst days, it is powerful. Consistency is more important than intensity. One strong effort does not create lasting change, but repeated moderate effort does. A habit grows stronger each time you return to it. Even if the action feels small, every repetition reinforces your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through. That identity becomes more powerful than motivation. There will be days when you do not feel like continuing. That is normal. Habits are not built in perfect conditions. They are built in real conditions. The difference between success and stagnation is not the absence of difficulty. It is the ability to continue despite it. Even a small action done on a difficult day keeps the chain alive. It maintains your direction. Another key to strengthening habits is linking them to existing routines. When a new action is connected to something you already do, it becomes easier to remember and repeat. This reduces mental effort and increases consistency. Over time, the habit becomes part of your natural flow instead of something you have to force. It is also important to focus on progress, not perfection. Many people break their habits because they believe missing one day means failure. But habits are not fragile systems. One missed day does not erase your progress. What matters is returning quickly without losing direction. Strength is not measured by never falling. It is measured by how quickly you continue. Small actions also build confidence. Every time you complete a habit, you send a message to yourself that you can be trusted. That internal trust becomes the foundation of discipline. When you trust yourself, you stop relying on external pressure. You begin to act based on identity instead of emotion. This is a deeper level of consistency. Over time, repeated small actions create visible change. At first, progress may feel slow. You may not notice immediate results. But beneath the surface, transformation is happening. Your thinking becomes clearer. Your behavior becomes more stable. Your choices become more intentional. These internal changes eventually reflect in your external results. One powerful mindset shift is to stop focusing on outcomes during habit formation. Instead, focus on showing up. The goal is not to achieve everything at once. The goal is to become someone who shows up consistently. When you focus on presence instead of pressure, you remove unnecessary stress from the process. This makes it easier to continue. Habits are also shaped by your environment. If your surroundings support your actions, repetition becomes easier. If they create resistance, repetition becomes harder. Design your space in a way that encourages the behavior you want. Reduce friction where possible. Make good habits easy to start and difficult habits harder to access. Another important part of habit strength is patience. Small actions take time to show visible results. This can make the process feel slow, but patience allows you to stay steady while the internal change builds. Without patience, you quit too early. With patience, you stay long enough to see transformation. Every repeated action is a vote for the person you want to become. One action does not define you, but repeated actions do. If you repeatedly choose discipline, you become disciplined. If you repeatedly choose focus, you become focused. If you repeatedly choose growth, you become someone who grows naturally. The beauty of small habits is that they do not require perfection. They require persistence. Even imperfect effort still counts when repeated consistently. What matters is direction, not speed. As long as you continue, you are building something meaningful. Eventually, habits that once required effort become part of your identity. You no longer think about them as tasks. They become part of who you are. That is the true power of repetition. It turns effort into nature. It turns discipline into behavior. It turns intention into reality. From this moment forward, stop underestimating small actions. Treat them with respect. Repeat them with care. Protect them with consistency. Because the life you are trying to build is not hidden in one big decision. It is hidden in the small things you choose to do every day without stopping. Chapter 1: Learn new skills that increase your value and confidence. Your life transforms the moment you decide to stop staying the same and start building new skills that expand who you are. Every skill you learn adds something powerful to your identity. It increases what you can do, how you think, and how you respond to opportunities. When you stay in the same level of ability for too long, your confidence slowly weakens because you begin to feel limited. But when you commit to learning new skills, you create a constant sense of progress. You begin to see yourself as capable of growth instead of stuck in place. Skill building is not just about career or money. It is about personal expansion. Every new ability you develop gives you more control over your life. It opens doors that were previously closed. It allows you to solve problems with more ease. It reduces fear because you know you are not the same person you were yesterday. You are improving, evolving, and adding value to yourself. Many people avoid learning new skills because they believe it requires special talent or perfect conditions. But skill development does not start with talent. It starts with willingness. The decision to begin is more important than how advanced you are at the start. Every expert once started as a beginner. Every confident person once felt uncertain. The difference is that they stayed in the process long enough to grow. When you learn something new, your confidence does not come immediately. It comes gradually through repetition and practice. At first, you may feel uncomfortable. You may make mistakes. You may not understand everything clearly, but this is part of the process. Discomfort is not a sign that you are failing. It is a sign that you are learning something new. The more you practice a skill, the more familiar it becomes. Familiarity reduces fear. Repetition builds confidence. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes natural. You begin to trust your ability because you have seen yourself improve. This trust is what strengthens your confidence from within. Learning new skills also changes how you see challenges. Instead of avoiding difficult situations, you start viewing them as opportunities to grow. You understand that every challenge is a chance to apply what you are learning. This mindset shift is powerful because it turns pressure into practice. You stop fearing difficulty and start engaging with it. One of the most effective ways to build new skills is through small, consistent learning. You do not need to master everything at once. You only need to improve a little each day. Even short practice sessions can create significant progress over time. What matters is consistency, not speed. When you show up regularly, your ability grows steadily without overwhelming pressure. It is also important to choose skills that align with your goals and interests. When a skill feels meaningful, your motivation to continue becomes stronger. You are more likely to stay committed when you see value in what you are learning. This connection between purpose and learning helps you push through moments of difficulty. As you develop new abilities, your confidence begins to shift. You no longer rely only on external validation. You start trusting your own capability. You understand that you can learn, adapt, and improve whenever needed. This self-trust is one of the strongest foundations of confidence. It does not depend on others. It depends on your own experience of growth. Skill learning also improves your decision-making. When you understand more, you approach problems with more clarity. You are less likely to feel confused or overwhelmed because you have more tools available to handle situations. Knowledge and ability reduce uncertainty. This creates a sense of control over your life. Another important part of learning skills is accepting mistakes as part of progress. Mistakes are not signs of failure. They are signs that you are actively trying. Every mistake shows you what needs improvement. Instead of avoiding errors, you learn from them. This creates a healthy learning cycle where each attempt makes you better than the last. It is also helpful to focus on one skill at a time. Trying to learn too many things at once can reduce progress. When your attention is divided, your growth becomes slower. But when you focus deeply on one area, your improvement becomes more noticeable. Concentrated effort produces stronger results. Over time, learning new skills builds a strong sense of identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who grows, adapts, and improves. This identity becomes powerful because it influences your behavior. When you believe you are a learner, you naturally continue learning. When you see yourself as capable, You act with more confidence. Confidence built through skill development is different from temporary confidence. It is stable because it is based on real experience. You are not guessing your ability. You have evidence of it. Every skill you learn becomes proof that you can grow. This creates lasting inner strength. As your skills increase, opportunities begin to expand. You become more useful in different situations. You can contribute more value in your work, relationships, and personal goals. This increase in value naturally leads to more confidence because you know you are capable of handling more responsibility. There will be times when learning feels slow or challenging. That is normal. Growth does not always feel exciting. Sometimes it feels repetitive or difficult, but consistency during these moments is what creates real progress. Staying committed during uncomfortable phases is what separates steady learners from those who stop early. Learning new skills also keeps your mind active and engaged. It prevents stagnation. When you continue to grow, you maintain a sense of purpose and direction. Your mind stays open to new ideas and possibilities. This openness is essential for long-term success and personal development. It is important to remember that skill building is a long-term process. It is not about quick results. It is about steady improvement over time. Every hour you invest adds to your future ability. Even when progress feels invisible, change is still happening beneath the surface. The most successful people are not those who never struggle. They are those who continue learning despite struggle. They understand that every new skill adds long-term value. They do not stop at one level. They keep expanding their ability throughout their lives. When you commit to learning new skills consistently, you build a stronger version of yourself. You become more capable, more confident, and more adaptable. You stop fearing change because you know you can learn whatever is required. This mindset gives you freedom. From this point forward, treat learning as a lifelong habit. Do not wait for perfect timing. Do not wait for motivation. Begin with what you can do today. Even small progress matters. Every skill you develop is a step toward a more confident and valuable version of yourself. Chapter 20. Stay committed, even when results are not immediately visible. Your true strength is revealed not when results are fast, but when you keep going without seeing them. There is a quiet phase in every meaningful journey where effort feels invisible. You show up, you work, you try, but nothing seems to move. No clear progress, no immediate reward, no obvious change. This is the stage where most people lose belief in their path. They assume nothing is working and begin to stop. But in reality, this is often the most important phase of all. It is the stage where commitment is tested and character is built. When results are not immediately visible, your mind starts to question your effort. It asks if you are wasting time. It asks if you should change direction. It asks if the work is worth it. These questions are normal, but they are also dangerous if you allow them to control your actions. Because not all progress can be seen right away. Some progress is building quietly beneath the surface, preparing itself before it becomes visible. Commitment means continuing even when your emotions are not supported by evidence. It means trusting your effort even when feedback is delayed. It means understanding that growth is not always instant. Many of the most meaningful changes in life happen slowly and silently before they become obvious. If you quit during the invisible stage, you never reach the visible stage. One of the biggest reasons people lose commitment is because they measure progress too frequently. They expect daily proof that something is working, but real development often follows a deeper timeline. Just like seeds take time before they break through the soil, your effort also needs time before it shows results. What looks like nothing happening may actually be the beginning of something forming. Staying committed requires a shift in focus. Instead of constantly checking for outcomes, you focus on showing up. You shift your attention from results to process. You stop asking, "What did I get today?" and start asking, "Did I stay consistent today?" This shift removes unnecessary pressure and keeps your action steady. There will be moments when motivation fades completely. You may feel like your effort is being ignored by life. You may feel like others are moving faster while you are standing still. But comparison during this phase can weaken your resolve. Every journey has its own timing. What matters is not how quickly others progress, but whether you stay true to your own direction. Commitment grows stronger when you understand that effort has a delayed return. Just because you cannot see results today does not mean your actions are not working. Many systems in life require accumulation. Small actions build up over time until they reach a point where change becomes noticeable. The delay is part of the process, not a sign of failure. It is also important to understand that invisible progress is still progress. Your discipline is strengthening. Your habits are forming. Your thinking is becoming sharper. Even if external results are not visible yet, internal development is happening. This internal growth is what eventually produces external change. One way to stay committed is to reduce your dependence on emotional feedback. If you only continue when you feel motivated or rewarded, your consistency will break easily. But if you build a system where action does not depend on emotion, you become stable. You act because it is part of your direction, not because you feel instantly rewarded. Another important part of commitment is learning to tolerate uncertainty. You may not know exactly when results will appear. You may not know how long the process will take, but uncertainty does not mean lack of progress. It simply means the timeline is not fully visible yet. Strong commitment allows you to move forward even without full clarity. During slow phases, it helps to remind yourself of why you started. Not the temporary excitement, but the deeper reason behind your effort. That reason becomes your anchor. When results are unclear, purpose keeps you steady. It gives meaning to your actions even when outcomes are delayed. You can also strengthen commitment by tracking effort instead of outcomes. Instead of measuring success by visible change, measure it by consistency. Did you show up? Did you complete the task? Did you maintain discipline? When you focus on effort, you regain control. Results are not always immediate, but effort is always available. There will be days when quitting feels easier than continuing. That feeling does not mean you are on the wrong path. It simply means you are in a phase that requires endurance. Every meaningful goal has this stage. The difference between success and failure is often decided here, not at the beginning or the end. Commitment is not built in moments of excitement. It is built in moments of quiet resistance. It is built when nobody is watching. It is built when progress feels unclear, but you continue anyway. These moments are what shape your long-term identity. If you stay consistent long enough, something changes inside you before anything changes outside. You become more stable, more patient, more grounded. You stop needing constant proof to continue. You begin to trust the process more deeply. This inner shift is what eventually leads to visible success. It is also important to understand that delayed results often create stronger foundations. When success comes slowly, it is usually more stable. You are more prepared for it. You value it more. You understand the process behind it. Fast results may feel exciting, but slow, built success is often more lasting. Commitment during invisible progress is a form of self-trust. You are telling yourself that you will not abandon your goals just because progress is not yet visible. You are proving to yourself that your discipline is stronger than your doubt. This self-trust becomes one of the most powerful strengths you can develop. Over time, what once felt slow begins to reveal its impact. You look back and realize that your effort was not wasted. It was building something all along. The changes were happening quietly, and now they are becoming visible. This realization only comes to those who stayed long enough to see it. From this point forward, stop judging your progress only by what you can immediately see. Trust the deeper process of growth. Stay consistent when it feels slow. Keep showing up when results are unclear. Because the most important transformations in life often begin in silence before they ever become visible. Chapter 4: Fluency. Choose positive influences that support your growth and vision. The direction of your life quietly changes the moment you decide who gets access to your mind. What surrounds you every day is shaping you in ways you may not fully notice. The conversations you listen to, the attitudes you absorb, the energy you allow into your space, all of it becomes part of your thinking. Over time, it influences your choices, your confidence, and even the limits you place on yourself. This is why choosing positive influences is not just a preference, it is a responsibility toward your future. There are people who expand your thinking simply by speaking to them. After a conversation, you feel more focused, more capable, more certain about your direction. Then there are people who leave you heavier than before, even if nothing negative was said directly. Their mindset quietly pulls your attention downward, making your goals feel distant or unrealistic. The difference is not always obvious in the moment, but it becomes clear over time through the direction your life starts taking. Your environment does not need to be loud to be influential. Even subtle repetition of doubt, negativity, or limitation can slowly reshape your inner dialogue. If you hear discouraging perspectives often enough, you may begin to repeat them in your own mind without realizing it. That is how influence works. It does not always convince you directly. Sometimes it simply repeats until you accept it as normal. Choosing positive influences means becoming aware of what strengthens your mindset and what weakens it. It is not about rejecting people with harsh judgment, but about protecting your mental space with intention. You are allowed to be respectful while still being selective. You are allowed to care about people while still being careful about their impact on your growth. One of the most powerful changes you can make in life is to reduce exposure to environments that normalize stagnation. When you are constantly surrounded by excuses, delays, or blame, it becomes easier to adopt the same thinking. Without realizing it, you begin to accept limitations that were never truly yours. But when you place yourself around individuals who think forward, act with discipline, and speak with purpose, your mindset starts to adjust upward. Positive influence is not only about motivation. It is about standards. The people you spend time with silently communicate what is acceptable in life. If your surroundings value growth, you begin to value it more deeply. If your surroundings avoid responsibility, you may start to do the same. Over time, your environment becomes the reference point for your behavior. This is why your future is often connected to your current circle more than you realize. Not because others control your path, but because influence shapes your perception of what is possible. When your perception expands, your actions follow. When your perception shrinks, your effort weakens. Everything begins in the mind first. To choose better influences, you must first become honest about how certain interactions affect you. After spending time with someone, pay attention to your energy. Do you feel motivated to improve, or do you feel drained and distracted? Do you leave the conversation with clarity or confusion? These small signals reveal a lot about whether an influence is supporting your direction or pulling you away from it. Sometimes growth requires distance, even from familiar people. This does not mean cutting off connection completely, but it does mean creating boundaries that protect your focus. Not every conversation needs your full attention. Not every opinion needs to shape your decisions. Not every environment deserves repeated access to your thoughts. At the same time, choosing positive influences also means actively seeking better ones. Growth rarely happens in isolation. You grow faster when you expose yourself to ideas, habits, and perspectives that challenge your current level. That could be through mentors, learning environments, meaningful conversations, or even content that expands your thinking. The key is intentional exposure rather than random absorption. When you consistently engage with constructive influences, your internal dialogue begins to shift. You start thinking in terms of solutions instead of limitations. You begin to focus more on what can be improved rather than what cannot be done. This shift is subtle at first, but it changes the way you respond to challenges. There is also a powerful effect that happens when you are around disciplined individuals. You begin to normalize discipline. What once felt difficult starts to feel expected. What once required effort becomes part of your identity. This is the silent power of environment. It shapes behavior without force. On the other hand, environments filled with distraction can slowly reduce your ability to focus. If everything around you is unstructured, your mind starts adapting to that pattern. Concentration becomes harder. Consistency becomes weaker. You may still have goals, but your environment constantly pulls your attention away from them. That is why protecting your focus is as important as building ambition. Positive influences also reinforce belief. When you are around people who believe in progress, your own belief strengthens. You begin to see challenges as part of the process rather than reasons to stop. You become more willing to persist because you are no longer carrying your goals alone in your mind. You are mentally supported by the environment you have chosen. However, it is important to understand that choosing better influences is not a one-time decision. It is an ongoing process. As you grow, your environment must evolve with you. What supported you at one stage may not support you at the next. Growth often requires re-evaluation. It requires adjusting your circle, your inputs, and your daily exposure. There will be moments when choosing better influences feels uncomfortable. You may feel distance from old patterns or hesitation about change. But discomfort is often part of real growth. It signals that you are moving beyond familiar limits. Staying in comfort might feel easier, but it rarely leads to transformation. The more intentional you become with your influences, the more control you gain over your direction. Instead of being shaped randomly by whatever enters your life, you begin shaping your life deliberately. You decide what enters your thinking. You decide what stays. You decide what is removed. Over time, this intentional selection builds a stronger mindset. Your thoughts become clearer. Your focus becomes sharper. Your decisions become more aligned with your vision. You stop reacting to every external voice and start listening more to your internal direction. Eventually, you begin to notice a major shift. The environment around you no longer defines you. Instead, you define the environment you allow. You move with awareness. You choose with clarity. You protect your mental space as something valuable rather than open to anything. And in that space, your growth becomes more stable, more focused, and more aligned with the future you are building. Chapter 15: Reduce stress by simplifying your daily tasks and priorities. The moment you decide to simplify your life, you begin to take back control of your mind, your energy, and your direction. Stress rarely comes from one big problem. It builds slowly through too many small things demanding your attention at the same time. Too many tasks, too many thoughts, too many expectations, and too little space to breathe. When everything feels urgent, nothing feels clear, and when clarity disappears, pressure increases. That is how daily life quietly becomes overwhelming without you even realizing it. Simplifying your daily tasks is not about doing less in life. It is about removing unnecessary weight so that what truly matters can finally move forward. Many people do not feel stressed because their goals are difficult. They feel stressed because their attention is divided across too many directions at once. Every unfinished task, every delayed decision, and every mental reminder creates background tension in the mind. Your brain was never designed to hold endless open loops. When too many things remain unfinished in your thoughts, it creates mental clutter. Even when you are not actively thinking about them, they still occupy space. This constant mental background noise drains your focus and weakens your ability to act clearly. Simplification is the process of clearing that noise. One of the most effective ways to reduce stress is to bring structure to your day. Not a rigid structure that feels restrictive, but a simple direction that reduces decision fatigue. When you wake up without clarity, your mind spends energy just figuring out what to do first. That energy could have been used for progress. But instead, it gets lost in confusion and delay. When your priorities are unclear, everything feels equally important. This creates pressure even in simple tasks. You start jumping between activities without finishing them properly. The mind becomes restless because it never feels complete. But when priorities are defined clearly, your attention settles. You know what deserves focus and what can wait. Simplification also means accepting that not everything needs your immediate response. Many stress points in daily life come from reacting too quickly to things that do not require urgency. Messages, notifications, small requests, and random tasks can interrupt your flow constantly. When you respond to everything instantly, you lose control over your time. You become reactive instead of intentional. When you begin simplifying your tasks, You start by identifying what truly matters in your day. Not everything deserves equal effort. Some tasks move your life forward, while others only keep you busy. The difference between progress and pressure often lies in knowing which is which. A simplified life is not an empty life. It is a focused one. It removes unnecessary layers so that your energy is not scattered. Instead of doing many things halfway, you begin doing fewer things with full attention. And when attention increases, quality improves naturally. You get more done with less internal resistance. Stress also increases when you carry mental responsibilities that do not belong to the present moment. Thinking about future problems while handling current tasks divides your awareness. You are never fully present in anything. Simplification brings your attention back to now. It reminds you that the only real action you can take is in the present step in front of you. Another important part of simplifying life is learning to finish small tasks quickly instead of letting them accumulate. Small unfinished actions may seem harmless, but over time they create a sense of pressure in the background. The mind registers them as incomplete, and that creates subtle tension. Completing simple tasks immediately reduces this hidden stress and creates mental space. Your environment also plays a role in how complicated your life feels. A cluttered space often leads to a cluttered mind. When your surroundings are disorganized, your attention constantly gets pulled in different directions. Even without thinking, your brain processes the disorder around you. Simplifying your physical space supports simplifying your mental space. At the same time, your schedule needs room to breathe. A life filled with back-to-back tasks leaves no space for recovery. Without recovery time, even simple tasks start feeling heavy. When you simplify your schedule, you are not removing productivity. You are protecting your ability to sustain it. Rest becomes part of the system, not something you only take when exhausted. One of the hidden causes of stress is overcommitment. Saying yes to too many things creates invisible pressure that builds up over time. Each commitment adds responsibility to your mental load. Simplifying your life sometimes requires the discipline to say no, not out of rejection, but out of respect for your capacity. Protecting your energy is part of maintaining clarity. When you reduce unnecessary complexity, something important begins to change internally. Your mind starts to feel lighter. Decisions become easier. You stop feeling like you are constantly behind. Instead, you begin to feel present with what you are doing. This shift is not external at first. It is internal. It happens when your mental load decreases. Clarity is one of the greatest forms of stress reduction. When you know exactly what you need to do next, your mind relaxes. Uncertainty is what creates tension. Simplification removes unnecessary uncertainty by breaking life into clear, manageable steps. You stop trying to handle everything at once and start focusing on one action at a time. Even your thinking becomes simpler when your life is organized. Instead of overanalyzing everything, you begin to respond with more ease. You stop adding complexity to situations that do not require it. This mental simplicity creates emotional stability. You are no longer constantly overwhelmed by small issues because your system is no longer overloaded. Over time, simplifying your daily tasks changes your relationship with productivity itself. You stop measuring success by how busy you are and start measuring it by how focused you remain. Business is no longer the goal. Effectiveness becomes the goal, and effectiveness comes from clarity, not chaos. There will always be more tasks than you can complete in a day. That is the reality of life. But stress does not come from the number of tasks. It comes from the lack of prioritization. When you know what matters most, everything else becomes easier to manage or ignore. Simplifying your life also creates emotional space. When your mind is not constantly occupied with unfinished tasks, you begin to feel calmer. You think more clearly. You react less emotionally to pressure. You gain the ability to pause before responding instead of reacting instantly to stress. The more you simplify, the more you notice that many things you once considered urgent were never truly urgent. Much of daily stress is created by perception, not reality. When you adjust your perception, the same life feels significantly lighter, and eventually, a shift happens. you realize that peace is not found by doing everything. It is found by doing the right things with clarity and letting go of everything that adds unnecessary weight. In that realization, your daily life becomes not just manageable, but calm, focused, and steady. Chapter 16Z builds self-respect by honoring your own personal standards. The strongest version of you begins to emerge the moment you stop breaking promises to yourself. Self-respect is not something that arrives from praise, approval, or recognition from others. It is built quietly in private moments when you choose to follow your own standards, even when no one is watching. Every time you keep a commitment to yourself, you strengthen your internal foundation. Every time you ignore it, you weaken your sense of self-trust. Over time, this invisible pattern shapes how you see yourself more than anything else in life. Personal standards are the silent rules you set for your own behavior. They define how you treat your time, how you handle your responsibilities, how you respond to challenges, and how seriously you take your own growth. When these standards are clear and consistent, life becomes more structured internally. When they are weak or inconsistent, life becomes reactive and uncertain. Building self-respect starts with honesty. Not honesty with others, but honesty with yourself. It is easy to make promises when motivation is high. It is harder to keep them when energy drops or distractions appear. But your real identity is not defined by what you intend to do. It is defined by what you actually follow through on. Each time you ignore your own standards, even in small ways, you send a message to your mind that your word is flexible. And when your word becomes flexible, discipline becomes unstable. On the other hand, when you consistently honor your own standards, even in small actions, your mind begins to trust you. That trust becomes the foundation of self-respect. There is a powerful shift that happens when you stop negotiating with yourself. Instead of constantly debating whether you should do what you already decided, you begin to act without internal conflict. That inner conflict is one of the main sources of self-doubt. Removing it brings clarity and strength. Self-respect is built in moments where no one is forcing you, no one is watching you, and no one will know the difference except you. Choosing to wake up when you said you would, choosing to complete a task even when you feel lazy, choosing to stay aligned with your values when it would be easier not to. These moments look small, but they accumulate into identity. When you consistently honor your standards, your confidence becomes quieter but stronger. You no longer need external validation to feel stable. You begin to rely on your own judgment because your actions have proven reliable over time. That reliability becomes inner strength. Many people struggle with low self-respect not because they lack ability, but because they repeatedly break small commitments to themselves. These broken promises may seem minor in the moment, but they create internal fragmentation. Part of you wants to grow while another part keeps avoiding effort. This division weakens your sense of identity. To build self-respect, you must reduce the gap between intention and action. The closer your actions are to your decisions, the stronger your internal alignment becomes. When you decide something, you follow through without unnecessary delay or justification. This consistency creates stability within your mind. Your standards should not be based on comparison with others. They should be based on the person you intend to become. When your standards are externally influenced, they fluctuate depending on your environment. But when they are internally defined, they remain steady even when circumstances change. Honoring your standards also means protecting your time and attention. Every time you allow distractions to take over your priorities, you lower the value of your own focus. But when you protect your time intentionally, you reinforce the message that your goals matter. This is not about perfection. It is about direction. Self-respect grows stronger when you learn to say no to what does not align with your values. Not every opportunity, request, or distraction deserves your attention. When you say yes to everything, you slowly lose control over your own path. But when you choose carefully, you maintain authority over your direction. There will be moments when honoring your standards feels uncomfortable. You may feel resistance, hesitation, or temptation to lower your expectations temporarily. But each time you choose discipline over comfort, You reinforce your identity as someone who can be trusted by themselves. That trust is more important than temporary ease. It is also important to understand that self-respect is not built through intensity, but through consistency. One strong action does not define you. A pattern of consistent behavior does. Even small repeated actions, when aligned with your standards, create powerful long-term identity change. When you begin honoring your standards consistently, your decisions start to simplify. You stop overthinking whether to do the right thing because your habits already guide you in that direction. Your life becomes less about internal debate and more about steady execution. Over time, you start to notice a change in how you carry yourself. You become more grounded. You speak with more certainty. You move with more calmness. This is not because life becomes easier, but because you are no longer in conflict with yourself. That internal alignment reflects outwardly. Self-respect also influences how others treat you, but that is not the primary goal. The real transformation happens within you. When you respect your own standards, you naturally avoid situations that compromise your values. You begin to filter out environments, conversations, and habits that do not match your direction. The strongest form of discipline is not force, but identity. When honoring your standards becomes part of who you are, it no longer feels like pressure. It becomes natural behavior. You do not need to motivate yourself constantly because your actions are aligned with your internal identity. There will always be moments of imperfection, but self-respect is not destroyed by mistakes. It is weakened by repeated abandonment of your own values without correction. What matters is the willingness to return to your standards quickly, without self-justification or delay. As you continue to honor your personal standards, something deeper begins to develop. You stop seeing yourself as someone trying to improve and start seeing yourself as someone who already values discipline and integrity. That shift in identity changes everything about how you approach life. In the end, self-respect is not something you chase. It is something you build silently through repeated alignment between your values and your actions. And the more consistently you honor your own standards, the stronger your relationship becomes with yourself, until confidence is no longer something you search for, but something you naturally live from. Chapter 17. Take care of your mind through silence and mindful thinking. The real strength of your mind is revealed not in how much noise it can handle, but in how well it can return to silence. In a world that constantly pushes information, opinions, and endless stimulation, the mind rarely gets a moment to settle. Thoughts overlap, attention shifts rapidly, and inner clarity becomes harder to maintain. Many people do not realize how mentally exhausted they are until they finally experience silence. In that silence, something unexpected happens. The mind begins to slow down, and for the first time in a long while, thinking becomes clearer instead of heavier. Silence is not emptiness. It is space, and that space allows your mind to process life without pressure. When everything is loud, your thoughts compete for attention. But when you step into silence, those thoughts begin to organize themselves naturally. You start to see what truly matters and what was only mental noise. Taking care of your mind begins with allowing it to rest from constant input. Not every moment needs sound, conversation, or distraction. The mind, like any system, needs recovery time. Without it, thinking becomes scattered and reactive. With it, thinking becomes steady and intentional. Mindful thinking is the practice of observing your thoughts instead of being carried away by them. Most mental stress does not come from life itself, but from the way the mind reacts to life. When thoughts are uncontrolled, they multiply problems. When thoughts are observed calmly, they lose their intensity. This shift changes your entire internal experience. Silence creates the conditions for awareness. In silence, you notice patterns in your thinking that are usually hidden by noise. You begin to see how often your mind jumps to conclusions, replays past situations, or anticipates problems that are not present. This awareness is the first step toward mental clarity. Many people avoid silence because it feels uncomfortable at first. Without distraction, the mind becomes more noticeable. Thoughts that were previously ignored begin to surface. But this is not a sign of something wrong. It is a sign that your mind is finally being seen clearly. What was always there is simply becoming visible. Over time, as you spend more time in silence, your relationship with thoughts begins to change. Instead of reacting immediately to every idea or emotion, you start to create space between stimulus and response. That space is where clarity lives. It allows you to choose how to think instead of being controlled by automatic reactions. Mindful thinking is not about stopping thoughts, it is about understanding them. When you observe a thought without judgment, its power weakens. It no longer controls your attention completely. You begin to realize that thoughts are temporary, not permanent truths. This realization brings emotional stability. Silence also helps you reconnect with your internal direction. When the mind is constantly filled with external input, it becomes difficult to hear your own priorities. But in quiet moments, your deeper thoughts become clearer. You start to recognize what you actually want, not what is being suggested to you by outside influences. There is a natural healing quality in silence. It reduces mental tension that builds up from constant reaction. When you allow your mind to rest in stillness, it begins to reset itself. Thoughts slow down, emotional pressure decreases, and focus returns naturally. This is not something you force. It happens when you stop overloading your mind. Another important aspect of mindful thinking is learning to slow down your internal pace. Many mental problems are intensified simply because thinking happens too fast. When thoughts move without control, they create anxiety and confusion. Slowing down allows you to examine each thought more clearly instead of being overwhelmed by many at once. Silence also improves your ability to respond instead of react. A reactive mind responds instantly without reflection. A mindful mind pauses before responding, even if only briefly. That pause changes everything. It allows you to choose a response that aligns with your values rather than your emotions. When you regularly practice silence, your attention becomes stronger. You are less easily pulled into distractions because your mind becomes comfortable with stillness. This stability helps you focus deeply on tasks, conversations, and decisions without unnecessary mental fragmentation. Mindful thinking also reduces unnecessary worry. Many worries exist only because the mind continuously revisits them without resolution. In silence, you begin to see which thoughts are productive and which are repetitive loops. Once you recognize this, you naturally stop feeding those loops with attention. As your relationship with silence deepens, you begin to notice that clarity does not need effort. It emerges naturally when noise is reduced. This realization changes how you approach thinking itself. Instead of trying to force answers, you create conditions where answers can appear. There is also a subtle emotional balance that develops through silence. When the mind is constantly stimulated, emotions become more volatile. But when the mind is regularly given space to settle, emotions become more stable. You are less likely to be overwhelmed by small situations because your internal baseline is calmer. Mindful thinking also strengthens self-awareness. You begin to notice not just what you think, but how you think. You observe patterns such as overthinking, fear-based assumptions, or unnecessary complexity. Once you see these patterns clearly, they begin to lose influence over your decisions. Silence does not disconnect you from life. It reconnects you with it in a clearer way. When your mind is not overloaded, you experience moments more fully. You listen better, observe better, and respond more thoughtfully. Life becomes less rushed internally, even if external activity continues. Over time, practicing silence becomes a form of mental discipline. It trains your mind to remain steady even in environments filled with noise. You become less dependent on external stimulation for mental stability. Instead, you carry that stability within yourself. One of the most powerful outcomes of mindful thinking is that you stop identifying with every thought that passes through your mind. You realize that thoughts are not commands. They are simply events in awareness. This separation gives you freedom. You are no longer controlled by every passing mental signal. As this awareness deepens, your thinking becomes more intentional. You start choosing which thoughts deserve attention and which can be ignored. This selective attention improves your mental efficiency and reduces unnecessary stress. Silence also helps you recover from mental overload faster. Instead of carrying accumulated stress throughout the day, you allow moments of reset. These moments prevent build-up and keep your mind fresh and responsive. Eventually, you begin to understand that silence is not something to avoid, but something to return to regularly. It becomes a source of clarity, strength, and stability. In that stillness, your mind organizes itself, your thoughts become clearer, and your inner world becomes more peaceful. And in that peace, you realize that true mental strength is not found in constant thinking, but in the ability to return to stillness whenever you choose. Chapter 18: Improve decision-making by thinking clearly before taking action. The quality of your life changes the moment you learn to pause long enough to think clearly before you act. Most poor decisions are not made because people lack intelligence, but because they move too quickly. In the rush of emotion, pressure, or urgency, thinking becomes shallow. Actions are taken before understanding is complete, and later, those actions create consequences that require even more energy to fix. Clarity is often sacrificed for speed, and that sacrifice quietly shapes outcomes. Improving decision-making begins with slowing down your internal response. Not everything that appears in front of you requires immediate action. Some situations only require observation first. When you allow yourself a moment of pause, you create space for better thinking. In that space, emotion settles and logic becomes more available. Clear thinking does not happen in the middle of mental chaos. It happens when the mind is given time to process information without pressure. When you rush, your thinking becomes reactive. When you slow down, your thinking becomes intentional. That difference alone can change the direction of your choices. Many people underestimate how much emotion influences decision-making. Frustration, excitement, fear, or impatience can all distort perception. In those moments, the mind tends to justify actions rather than evaluate them. You begin to convince yourself instead of considering consequences. Clear thinking requires stepping back from those emotional spikes before deciding anything important. One of the simplest but most powerful habits for better decisions is asking yourself what problem you are actually trying to solve before you act. Often, people react to surface-level situations without identifying the deeper issue. When the real problem is unclear, the solution will also be unclear. But when you define the situation properly in your mind, your choices become more precise. Thinking clearly also means resisting the urge to fill silence with immediate answers. Many decisions do not require instant resolution. Some require reflection. When you rush to fill uncertainty with action, you may end up creating more complexity instead of reducing it. Allowing uncertainty to exist for a short time often leads to better understanding. Your mind becomes sharper when it is trained to separate reaction from response. A reaction is automatic and emotional. A response is thoughtful and considered. The space between the two is where clarity is formed. Strengthening that space is one of the most valuable mental skills you can develop. Another important aspect of clear decision-making is recognizing when you do not have enough information. Acting without understanding often leads to unnecessary correction later. Instead of rushing forward, sometimes the best decision is to pause and gather more clarity. This patience prevents avoidable mistakes. Mental clarity also improves when you reduce the number of decisions you make unnecessarily. When your mind is overloaded with constant small choices, it becomes harder to think clearly about important ones. Simplifying your daily thinking reduces mental fatigue and preserves clarity for situations that truly matter. Clear thinking requires honesty with yourself. It requires acknowledging when your judgment is influenced by pressure or emotion. Many people make decisions not because they are right, but because they want to escape discomfort quickly. Recognizing this pattern is the first step toward improving it. When you slow down before acting, you begin to notice patterns in your own decision-making. You see how certain emotions lead to certain types of choices. You begin to understand your triggers. This awareness allows you to interrupt automatic reactions and replace them with thoughtful responses. Improved decision-making is not about never making mistakes. It is about reducing unnecessary mistakes caused by impulsive thinking. When you take time to think clearly, even if the outcome is not perfect, it is usually more aligned with your actual intention. There is also a strong connection between clarity and confidence. When you rush decisions, doubt often follows because the thinking process was incomplete. But when you take time to evaluate properly, your confidence in the decision increases, even if the outcome is uncertain. That confidence comes from knowing you thought it through properly. Clear thinking also helps you avoid overcomplicating situations. When the mind is rushed, it tends to imagine multiple problems at once, many of which are not real. Slowing down allows you to separate reality from assumption. You begin to focus only on what is actually present instead of what might happen. Another key element of better decision-making is learning to prioritize long-term outcomes over short-term relief. Many poor decisions are made to quickly escape discomfort, but when you think clearly, you begin to consider how each choice will affect you later, not just immediately. This shift in perspective leads to more stable outcomes. When you consistently practice thinking before acting, your mind begins to develop a natural discipline. You no longer feel compelled to respond instantly to every situation. Instead, you become comfortable with pause. That pause becomes a powerful tool that protects you from unnecessary mistakes. Over time, clear thinking becomes a habit. You no longer need to force yourself to slow down because your mind automatically begins to evaluate situations before responding. This transformation is subtle but powerful. It changes the way you navigate daily life. Better decisions also come from reducing mental clutter. When your mind is overloaded with unnecessary thoughts, it becomes harder to think clearly about any single situation. By keeping your thinking organized, you create space for better judgment. Simplicity in thought leads to accuracy in decisions. There is also value in asking simple internal questions before taking action. Questions like whether this decision aligns with your direction, whether it is driven by emotion, or whether it is necessary right now. These questions create a pause that strengthens awareness and reduces impulsive behavior. Clear decision-making also involves accepting that not all decisions need to be perfect. Some only need to be well thought out with the information available at the moment. Overthinking can sometimes delay action unnecessarily. The goal is not paralysis through analysis, but clarity before movement. As your ability to think clearly improves, your life begins to feel more controlled internally. You are no longer constantly reacting to situations. Instead, you are responding with awareness. This shift brings stability because your actions are no longer random or emotionally driven. Eventually, you realize that strong decision-making is not about speed. It is about clarity. The more clearly you think before acting, the fewer unnecessary problems you create. And in that clarity, your choices begin to align more naturally with the direction you truly want to move in. Chapter 19a. Stay disciplined by doing what needs to be done daily. The life you want is built in the ordinary moments when you choose action over delay, again and again, without waiting for the perfect mood. Discipline is not a rare act of motivation. It is a daily agreement you make with yourself to do what is necessary, regardless of how you feel in the moment. Most people imagine discipline as something intense or difficult, but in reality, it is simple repetition. It is showing up for the work that matters, even when there is no excitement attached to it. Every day presents a set of tasks that either move your life forward or keep it stagnant. The difference is not always obvious at first, because both can feel productive in the moment. But over time, consistency in the right actions creates progress, while avoidance creates delay. Discipline is the ability to recognize that difference and act accordingly. Many people struggle not because they lack ability, but because they wait for the right feeling before they act. They delay important tasks until motivation appears. But motivation is inconsistent. It comes and goes. Discipline is what remains when motivation disappears. That is why it becomes the foundation of long-term progress. Doing what needs to be done daily requires removing negotiation from your actions. When every task becomes a decision you debate internally, energy is wasted before the task even begins. Discipline reduces that internal debate. It turns action into a default response rather than a choice that depends on mood. There is a quiet strength that develops when you complete tasks regardless of how you feel. At first, it may feel uncomfortable. Resistance is natural because the mind prefers ease, but each time you move through that resistance, you weaken its influence. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes routine. The power of discipline is not in doing extraordinary things once in a while, but in doing ordinary things consistently. Small actions, repeated daily, shape outcomes far more than occasional bursts of effort. The accumulation of effort creates results that sudden intensity cannot sustain. One of the most important parts of discipline is understanding that not every day will feel equal. Some days will feel light and productive, while others will feel heavy and slow. Discipline is what keeps your actions steady across both types of days. It removes dependence on emotional states. When you commit to daily responsibility, you begin to build trust with yourself. Each completed task becomes evidence that you can rely on your own actions. This self-trust strengthens your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, not someone who depends on external pressure to act. There is also a powerful shift that happens when discipline becomes part of your identity rather than just behavior. You stop asking whether you feel like doing something. Instead, you simply do it because it aligns with who you are becoming. This identity-based discipline is more stable than motivation-based effort. Daily discipline also reduces stress over time. When you consistently complete what needs to be done, you avoid the buildup of unfinished responsibilities. Tasks no longer accumulate in your mind as pressure. Instead, they are processed steadily, creating mental clarity. Avoiding daily responsibility may feel comfortable in the moment, but it creates long-term tension. Unfinished tasks do not disappear. They remain in the background of your thoughts, creating mental weight. Discipline removes that weight by addressing tasks regularly instead of postponing them. A disciplined life is not a rigid life. It is a structured one. Structure does not limit freedom. It supports it. When you know what needs to be done and you consistently do it, your mind becomes free from constant decision fatigue. You no longer waste energy deciding what should be done next. One of the key challenges in maintaining discipline is dealing with resistance. Resistance appears as procrastination, distraction, or justification. It tells you to delay action or do something easier instead. Recognizing resistance is important because it often appears right before meaningful progress. When you choose to act despite resistance, you train your mind to follow intention rather than impulse. Each time you overcome hesitation, you strengthen your ability to stay consistent. Over time, resistance loses its influence because it is no longer obeyed. Discipline also requires clarity about priorities. When everything feels equally important, it becomes difficult to stay consistent. But when you identify what truly matters, your actions become more focused. You stop scattering your energy across unnecessary tasks and begin directing it toward meaningful progress. There is also value in starting small. Discipline is not built through overwhelming effort, but through repeatable actions. When tasks are manageable, consistency becomes easier to maintain. And once consistency is established, capacity naturally expands over time. Daily discipline creates momentum. Each completed action makes the next one easier. This momentum reduces friction in starting tasks. What once required effort begins to feel automatic. This is how habits form and strengthen over time. Another important aspect of discipline is learning to act without overthinking. When the mind analyzes too much before action, it creates delay. Discipline reduces that delay by turning intention into immediate execution. The less time between decision and action, the stronger your consistency becomes. Over time, disciplined action reshapes your self-image. You begin to see yourself as someone capable of persistence. This self-image becomes powerful because it influences future behavior. You act in alignment with who you believe you are. Even when progress feels slow, discipline ensures continuity. It keeps you moving forward even when results are not immediately visible. This continuity is what separates temporary effort from lasting transformation. Without discipline, progress becomes inconsistent and fragile. There will always be moments when you feel like skipping responsibilities. That feeling is normal. What matters is not the presence of that feeling, but your response to it. Discipline is choosing action despite internal hesitation. As you continue practicing daily discipline, something subtle changes in your mindset. You stop viewing tasks as obstacles and start viewing them as part of your structure. What once felt like effort begins to feel like alignment with your direction. Eventually, discipline becomes less about forcing yourself and more about simply following your established pattern. You no longer rely on willpower for every action. Instead, your daily rhythm carries you forward. In the end, staying disciplined is not about perfection. It is about consistency in doing what needs to be done, even in small ways, and when that consistency becomes your standard, your entire life begins to move in a more stable, focused, and purposeful direction. Chapter 20. Keep growing by adapting, learning, and improving every single day. The moment you decide that every single day is an opportunity to improve, your entire future begins to shift in a powerful direction. Growth is not a single event that happens once in life. It is a continuous process that depends on your willingness to adapt, learn, and refine yourself repeatedly. Many people believe improvement comes from big breakthroughs, but real transformation is built through small daily adjustments that gradually reshape who you are. The difference between staying the same and evolving lies in how consistently you choose to learn from each experience. Every day gives you feedback. Sometimes it comes through success, sometimes through mistakes, and sometimes through situations that challenge your thinking. But all of it carries information. When you develop the habit of observing your daily experiences, you begin to extract lessons from things that others might ignore. This awareness turns ordinary moments into opportunities for growth. Adapting is one of the most important skills in life because conditions are always changing. What worked yesterday may not work tomorrow. People who remain rigid in their thinking often struggle when circumstances shift. But those who stay flexible are able to adjust their approach without losing direction. Adaptation allows you to remain effective even when situations are uncertain. Learning is not limited to formal education. It happens through observation, reflection, and experience. Every interaction, every challenge, and every decision carries a lesson. The key is not just going through life, but actively thinking about what each moment is teaching you. When you develop this habit, your growth becomes natural and continuous. Improvement also requires honesty. You must be willing to recognize where you are not yet strong and where you need to evolve. This does not mean focusing on flaws in a negative way. It means understanding your current level clearly so you can move beyond it. Without awareness, there can be no improvement. One of the most powerful ways to grow daily is by making small refinements instead of waiting for major changes. Big transformations are often the result of consistent micro-adjustments. A slightly better decision, a slightly clearer thought, a slightly improved action repeated over time creates significant long-term progress. Many people stop learning once they feel comfortable. Comfort creates a false sense of completion. It makes you feel like you have already reached a stable point, but growth stops the moment learning stops. To keep improving, you must stay mentally active and open to new understanding, even when things feel stable. Adapting also means being willing to let go of outdated thinking. As you gain new experiences, some old beliefs may no longer serve your direction. Holding on to them out of habit can slow your progress. Growth requires the courage to update your thinking when necessary. Each day offers a chance to refine your habits. Small adjustments in behavior can lead to meaningful changes over time. Whether it is how you manage your time, how you respond to challenges, or how you approach tasks, improvement is always available in subtle ways. The key is paying attention to those opportunities. Learning from mistakes is one of the most valuable forms of growth. Instead of viewing mistakes as setbacks, you can treat them as information. Every mistake shows you what does not work, which brings you closer to what does. When you adopt this mindset, failure becomes part of progress rather than something to avoid. Another important aspect of daily improvement is reflection. Taking a moment to think about your actions at the end of the day allows you to understand your patterns. Reflection helps you identify what worked well and what needs adjustment. Without reflection, experience passes without transformation. Growth also depends on curiosity. When you remain curious, you naturally seek better understanding. You ask questions, explore new perspectives, and stay open to learning from different sources. Curiosity keeps your mind active and prevents stagnation. It is also important to understand that improvement is not always visible immediately. Some days you may not notice any clear change, but that does not mean progress is not happening. Growth often builds quietly over time, becoming noticeable only after consistent effort has accumulated. Adapting daily also involves being aware of your environment. The situations you place yourself in influence how you think and act. When you are in environments that encourage learning, your growth accelerates. When you are in stagnant environments, progress slows down. Choosing environments that support your development is part of continuous improvement. Another key element of growth is openness to feedback. Feedback provides external perspective that you may not see on your own. When you are open to it, you gain insights that help you refine your actions. Ignoring feedback limits your ability to improve efficiently. Improvement requires patience as well. Growth is not instant. It unfolds gradually through repeated effort. When you understand this, you stop expecting immediate transformation and instead focus on consistent progress. This mindset allows you to stay committed even when changes feel slow. Daily learning also strengthens your decision-making. As you gather more understanding, your choices become more informed. You begin to recognize patterns faster and respond with greater clarity. Over time, your thinking becomes sharper and more reliable. Adapting is also about emotional flexibility. Life will present situations that challenge your expectations. When you are emotionally flexible, you are able to adjust without becoming overwhelmed. This ability helps you maintain stability even in changing circumstances. One of the most important habits for continuous improvement is self-observation. Paying attention to how you think, react, and behave gives you insight into your current state. This awareness allows you to make intentional adjustments instead of repeating automatic patterns. As you continue learning and adapting daily, your identity begins to evolve. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is fixed and start seeing yourself as someone who is constantly growing. This identity shift is powerful because it influences every decision you make. Over time, improvement becomes a natural part of your life rather than something you occasionally attempt. You begin to expect growth from yourself. You become comfortable with change, and you trust your ability to adjust whenever needed. Eventually, you realize that the key to long-term success is not one major breakthrough, but continuous daily improvement. Each day becomes an opportunity to refine, learn, and move closer to your potential. And in that ongoing process of adaptation and learning, your life steadily transforms into something stronger, clearer, and more aligned with your vision.